Hollywood, starting from animation. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, The Media Said, Ask for an Interview. Jin Shuguang Music. Today Zhu Ke came earlier, at 8 o'clock in the morning. Jin Shuguang Music has just started a new day of operation, so the singers and artists have not yet arrived. Taking advantage of this point in time, Zhu Ke and Nimitzel Domino, the person in charge of Jin Shuguang Music, had a brief chat. Nimitzel Domino, male, 35 years old. He is a talent that Victor has personally dug from Universal Records. Nimitzel Domino has rich experience. He has produced music albums for many famous singers such as Michael Jackson, Will Smith and Madonna. Power in the industry, of course. The price of digging him is not small. Not only let him be the head of Jin Shuguang Music, but also the music director. The annual salary and benefits are also the A1 level treatment of the heads of other subsidiaries. Domino, let's just chat. After all, Victor arranged it well, Zhu Ke said lightly. Victor is the CEO of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group and its subsidiaries. Now Zhuke is mainly in the direction of taking the big picture. Zhuke seldom asks about specific operations. Otherwise, it is easy to cause conflicts between the management and the boss, which is not conducive to the rapid development of the company. Well, even Victor and Zhuke have a good personal relationship. Take a look at the Emperor of Disney, Michael Eisner. He and Michael Ovitz, one of the founders of CAA, have been in friendship for decades. Did they break up because of the division of labor and permissions? Moreover, it is now a mortal enemy. Boss, this album is based on Eminem's new solo album, Domino said. The entire record has 15 songs, 10 of which are personally composed by Eminem. Well, I have to say that Eminem is indeed a popular player on the Got Talent show stage. In the past few years, when he was at a low point, he did not have the slightest depression of will, and he actually created a lot of works. After a pause, he said, "Boss, I have to say you are making a lot of money." Hearing this, Zhu Ke immediately smiled and said, "Otherwise, why do you think I want to sign him? I have already seen it. Eminem is definitely a talent." Domino nodded in agreement. The achievements of his own boss have long been well known in Hollywood. After all, the net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars is not a joke. Of course, what Domino admires most is Zucker's vision. See the thief. Do I want to tell you, am I a traverser? Zhu Ke's heart moved. The two chatted and talked about the issue of record release. No matter how good the record is, if there is no perfect distribution channel, it is bound to be disadvantageous. The aroma of wine is not afraid of deep alleys, which is not feasible in this industry. The distribution channels of movies are mainly concentrated in the media and theaters, while the distribution channels of music records are mainly in the hands of distributors and retailers, which is currently lacking in Zhuke. Even if it is sold on the internet, it cannot catch up. Physical store. After all, in the 90s, it was still the world of physical stores. Boss, it's true that our Golden Dawn Music is a new company, and we don't have a music distribution channel, but don't underestimate my Domino's connections in the music industry. I don't dare to say anything else. I can handle the channel problem personally. Also, who is Eminem? Boss, don't forget that Eminem is a popular player on the Go Talent stage and the runner-up in the first season. His current popularity is not much worse than that of veteran singers in the music industry in the United States. Therefore, our current record distribution is not a problem at all. As long as we let the news out, there will definitely be a large number of distributors who take the initiative to come to us for cooperation. It's the rhythm of actively seeking cooperation. When the voice fell, Zhu Ke nodded involuntarily. Domino's words are full of confidence. His self-confidence is not arrogance, but comes from his years of experience in this industry, and his personal and precise judgment. What about the Destiny Girl? Domino, Beyonce and a few of her friends are the goddess combination. Their new album, how are the preparations? Zhuke asked again. Beyonce, she will also be a famous and world-renowned singer in the future. The awards and honors in the female singer ranks, even if compared with Madonna, Taylor Swift, and Zhao Xianchen, they are not much different, and they are even better in singing skills. However, Beyonce is still too tender now compared with the current Eminem. He still has many more things to learn. Among other things, it's just Eminem's new album. Most of the songs are written by himself, which is beyond the reach of Beyonce. Boss, Beyonce, they are very good, but their little sisters are not singer-songwriters. So the release of the new album will take some time to prepare, Domino explains. Hugh nodded and said, "You are a professional, and I will take your professional vision as the criterion. Of course, you must pay more attention to their new album, okay, boss?" Domino should shout. The guidance of outsiders to insiders is a taboo in many industries. Zhu Ke has been studying since he crossed over. Nowadays, in the field of film, Zhu Ke is comfortable, but he can handle it with ease. However, in the field of music production, Zhu Ke does not involve much, and at the moment he can only choose to hand it over to professionals. It didn't take long. Eminem, Beyonce and others came to the company and started recording the new album. Zhu Ke also spent a certain amount of time at the moment, communicated with them, and enthusiastically inquired about their current life and work status, promised to tell the company if there were any questions, and he could call Zhu Ke himself. I have to count, Zhu Ke, who is approachable, once again left the impression of a good boss on Eminem and others. Soon after Zhu left Golden Dawn Music, Domino, through the group's media power, announced the release of Eminem's new album. As soon as the news came out, the instant change caused a sensation. California General News, an elderly journalist, looked at his editor-in-chief suspiciously and said, "Boss, today is the time of the Madonna Global Tour in Los Angeles. You decided to give priority to interview Eminem? You are not mistaken, right? Is he just a rookie?" "Shit, Joel," editor-in-chief and boss of the California General News, roared. "Mr. Stevenson, are you questioning my decision?" Upon hearing this, the old reporter Stevenson said quickly, "Boss, I am your old subordinate. Why would I question your decision? However, I still think that Eminem is a newcomer, completely inferior to the existence of the Uranus superstar Madonna." "You idiot." "Well, www.wooksyaspit.com Joel, who is the owner of the newspaper, is angry. Stevenson, if you weren't my old subordinate, I would definitely fire you today. Eminem's current status is completely inferior to Madonna, but you must not forget one thing, that is, Eminem is now in the popularity among young people is not much worse than Madonna. The most important thing is that this is Eminem's first album after the Got Talent show. You know how many media and fans in the United States pay attention to it. So, go to interview Eminem now, immediately, and immediately. If you don't interview him before dark, don't come back, huh?" Joel's words instantly made the old reporter Stevenson sweat in cold sweat. "Fool, what are you doing in a daze? Go quickly. What's the matter if it's irrelevant?" Joey yelled again at the same time. It's not just reporters from the California General News who are rushing to the Golden Dawn Music Company. Many media reporters in Los Angeles, California, and even across the United States flocked to Jinchuguang Music Company and interviewed Eminem himself in an effort to get first-hand fresh reports. The second update is sent. Chapter 127, Airborne Bulletin Board Number 1. Jinchuguang Music Press Conference. Thanks to the popularity of Domino and the heat and popularity of Eminem itself, the press conference of the new album attracted more than 100 media reporters from all over the United States. There are more journalists than Wald Pictures' new film premiere. Zhu Ke, who was sitting on the rostrum, suddenly felt sorrow and excitement. The reason for sorrow is naturally that I have worked hard for more than 2 years, which is not as popular as Eminem. Exhilarating, that of course is to see the future of Golden Dawn Music. With Eminem and Beyonce in hand, it means that a lot of dollars are being pounded at yourself. These reporters from the dog days. Zhu Ke curled his lips and couldn't help cursing secretly in his heart. Zhu Ke's presence today is just icing on the cake. The main character of the entire press conference is always Eminem, who is in the limelight. "I'm Declara, a reporter for the Global Times. When will your new album be released?" A female reporter pushed aside the crowd very bravely and squeezed to the front. Eminem, who was sitting on the stage, was just about to answer a question from a female reporter when he was interrupted by a group of other media reporters. "Eminem, look here, yes, this is the pose, Eminem. It is said that in your new album, 10 songs were written and composed by you. Is it true, Eminem?" According to people familiar with the matter, you won the overall runner-up of the first season of America's Got Talent, not because of your strength, but because of the program group's internal appointment? Please answer my question directly, Eminem. "I'm Michelle Nope, a reporter for the Los Angeles Entertainment News. Can you give me a chance to conduct an interview?" More than 100 media reporters, that is, more than 100 mouths. In order to obtain first-hand fresh information, don't they have the slightest trust to speak of? Fuck, what a joke. Is it time to discuss these issues? What can't a group of media reporters do in order to grab the headlines? The disturbing sound directly rendered the scene chaotic. In fact, These are the deliberate results of music director Domino. He just wanted to use this chaotic scene to highlight Eminem's current popularity. Zhu turned his head and whispered to Kevin Fitch, who was sitting next to him, "Kevin, Domino is really an old world in the music industry." Kevin Fitch nodded and smiled. "It's true. I just heard backstage that there were more than 20 media reporters on the 110th, all of whom he arranged to come in and deliberately set off the atmosphere. It shouldn't cost anything. Less money," Zhu Ke sighed and said. "That's not true. Domino promised them several interviews with Eminem and the Goddess of Destiny. They just agreed. Well, Eminem themselves need the media. Come build momentum." Kevin Fitch laughed immediately. "This is a beautiful job. Director Domino, he shouldn't do music production, he should go to the head office to promote it." Suddenly, Zhu and Kevin smiled at each other. Kevin Fitch is the vice president of Wald Pictures. It stands to reason that he should not appear at the press conference of Zhu Ke Wald Music, but today he also has a mission. The theme song of Wald Pictures' new film, The Sixth Sense of Supernatural, is Eminem who wrote the lyrics, composed and sang the song himself. You said. Can Kevin Fitch not come to the scene? Is it possible to continue this opportunity to promote a new wave of movies? I have to say, Kevin Fitch is enough for a chicken thief. Domino's campaign was undoubtedly a success, as can be seen from the scene that was about to burst. Quiet. Just be quiet, gentlemen and ladies. Do you still want the opportunity for an interview? Domino's voice fell, and the scene suddenly became quiet. Interview? Of course they want it. This represents the ability and reputation of the reporters themselves. Being able to cross a step means that they can get more bonuses and salaries from their own company, which is good for future promotion and salary increase. Domino stood on the podium and said loudly, "Everyone, welcome to the press conference of the new album of Golden Dawn Music Company artist Eminem. I am your old friend Nimit Domino." The press conference, under the control of Domino, almost completed the propaganda task perfectly. After a group of media reporters left, they rushed to write and completed a wonderful article, and in a very short period of time, several newspapers published it. First, the news that Eminem's new album will be released really made many fans who love Eminem very happy. On the internet forum, netizens directly fry the pot. Love to eat pineapple. I look forward to it. I'll look forward to it. Rap Jr. 1997. Ai Mue. I have long been looking forward to this day. Not to mention, after the new album is released, I will buy 100 copies. Feng Huat, +1, Zia Okiang Biwao. I don't have that much money to buy 100 albums, but I will support it. The wallet is ready. I'm the most beautiful and I don't accept refutation. Ha ha ha. Can I say that my brother is an insider of Zhu Ke Wald music? Can I say, I have heard the 2 songs of the new album first? Ha ha ha. New album excellent. As of 8 o'clock the next morning, that is to say, less than 18 hours have passed. The number of comments on Eminem's new album in major forums on the internet has exceeded 200,000. Eminem is so popular that it is definitely not inferior to any first-line singer in the United States. Zhu Ke Wald music creates momentum. The media frantically grab the heat. The extreme hunger of fans, wait for all of this, directly led America engaged in major music sales channels, can't sit still. Eminem's new album was released, and I bought it from the Filoni Records chain on the West Coast. No one can grab it with me, otherwise it would not give me Filoni Washington face. Filoni Washington, male, 50 years old, claims to be a descendant of President Washington. The veteran American billionaire, the owner of the Filoni Records chain www.uxiaspit.com, and has considerable influence in the real estate, hotel, and construction industries. His Filoni Records chain is the 3rd largest physical record sales store on the west coast of the United States, with 320 stores and an overall market value of $500 million. Undoubtedly his strength is very powerful. However, today, many record channel dealers don't give him Filoni face. Damn Filoni. Why should I give you face? You say God, go to hell, a middle-aged man roared. That is, why do you give you face? You Filoni is the 3rd largest physical record sales store on the west coast of the United States. It's amazing, don't you know how to come first? Come first. There are descendants who claim to be President Washington. Do you want to face? Your shameless look makes me feel sick. Other channel dealers who came to ask for cooperation after hearing the news were not getting any better at the moment, and they all yelled at them and directly stunned Filoni. Domino, as the person in charge of Zhu Ke Wald music, looked at the noisy scene in front of him with great joy. The more aggressive you grab, the greater the profit margin of Zhu Ke Wald. Within 2 days, Guang Music signed a new album release contracts with 7 powerful distributors, and the conditions were very attractive. September 15, Eminem's new album My Name Is has officially landed on the market. As soon as was listed, it was robbed by fans, and in less than half a day, it airborne the #1 pop music Billboard chart in the United States. The airborne champion directly blows up the entire United States. The first update of Ascent. Chapter 128, Crazy Profit, Hot Album Sales. Bulletin Board Hot 100 list is an important list of popular music among the newspapers published every week by Bulletin Board Weekly. Even looking at Europe and the United States, the Bulletin Board Hot 100 list is also the most professional strength list. In the late 1990s, when online music sales on the internet had not yet become popular, the Bulletin Board Hot 100 list had already dominated the European and American music scene. The ranking method of its list is determined by a BDS radio station and bin small market radio station, whose sales account for a 50%, 10%, and 40% respectively. After all, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, physical album sales were an important indicator. After 2010, with the development of the internet, the sales of physical records have been weak, and Billboard, as the ranking method of important North American music charts, naturally changed accordingly. Well, it's just restructuring. The proportion of physical sales indicators dropped from 40% to 1%. Instead, the sales of online downloads rose to 40%. Whether it's in the 1990s or after entering the 21st century, there are 12 music charts including the Hot 100 list on the Bulletin Board, as well as the radio charts, single sales charts, and streaming charts, not yet available in the late 1990s, associated with Billboard. Singles are the targets of a lot of singers and music lovers. The Bulletin Board Hot 100 list is the most important list. It is published by Bulletin Board magazine. It starts counting every Monday and ends every Sunday. A new issue will be released next Thursday. Therefore, Eminem's new album My Name Is not the album that became the #1 on the Hot 100 chart of this issue. However, the new album My Name Is has only been released for half a day, and it has sold millions of physical records, enough to make it surpass the ranking of any album and artist on the Hot 100 chart. In other words, it is the uncrowned king. At the same time, I also booked in advance the ownership of the next Bulletin Board Hot 100 list champion. Hot. It's hot. I have to say that the popularity of Eminem's new album My Name Is has completely swept the United States. Billboard magazine gave reasons on its official website. Eminem's new albums are selling hot, and they sold over 1 million in less than a day. This shows that the popularity of his albums has broken any media's false popularity of Eminem bias. This newspaper and magazine believes that the album My Name Is, without the participation of Jackson and Madonna, will surely become the most popular music album in North America in 1997. As soon as the report of Billboard Weekly came out, other authorized media and newspapers reprinted this report in the first time, and even directly exploded Eminem's new album My Name Is. California Entertainment said, "This year's hottest album has come out. What are you waiting for?" National Music Weekly said, "The strongest dark horse Eminem." The Los Angeles Morning Post said, "Sales exploded?" Yes, it is predicted that the physical sales of the album My Name Is will surpass 30 million sales by the end of the year. One by one news, entertainment newspapers and magazines published articles, completely let those music lovers who are still in the wait-and-see stage sit down. Let them join the ranks of buying albums. However, the long queues in front of the major dealership stores directly caused the latecomers to collapse. "Oh my God," a girl under the age of 20 exclaimed, "I just slept a few more hours today. Why are so many people lining up to buy?" The voice fell, and the people in the line around the girl began to complain. "Don't you know how hot Eminem is now?" "That's right. If it wasn't for Tigress's class today, I would have missed class early to buy it, and I wouldn't have to queue such a long line. Haha. You think too much? I queued up a few hours ago, but I went to the bathroom halfway, and the number of people in the line increased a lot. If I knew it, I wouldn't drink so much water today." And such situations are constantly being staged in front of dealership stores across the United States. All the channel dealers are really happy. These are all green dollars. Channel dealer Clomany sighed, "I knew Eminem's new album would be hot, but I never thought it would be so hot." Channel dealer Shirley Young also said, "It's just today's sales situation. Compared with the release of new albums by Michael Jackson and Madonna, it's not much worse." The next day, in the morning, Golden Dawn Music's Zhu was sitting in the office of music director Domino, looking at the sales statistics in his hand, and he was sighed again and again. "It's incredible, it's incredible. In one day, the sales of new albums across the United States exceeded 1.5 million. Zhu Ke was amazed again and again. Domino smiled and said, "Boss, in terms of first-day sales, in recent years, only Michael Jackson's first-day sales of 2.04 million and Madonna's first-day sales of 1.79 million can exceed this data. I can say for sure now, Eminem will surely become the newcomer in the North American pop music field this year." Okay, Zhu Ke agrees. Of course, his eyes narrowed into a gap, showing how happy his are all US dollars. In the original time and space, that is, in 1999, Eminem's annual sales of new albums reached 30 million, making him the record sales champion of that year. Moreover, this is the outstanding result that Eminem himself has not had the slightest reputation, and the music production company West Coast Music Company behind him has not tried his best, and now, Eminem is now the total runner-up in the first season of America's Got Talent and the first person to break the black monopoly of rap, the media's pursuit, the hunger and thirst of music lovers, Golden Dawn's music director Domino's campaign, and Zhu Ke, who is the boss of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group, are in full support. How can sales be worse? Therefore, there is a new album that exploded as soon as it was released. Time is fleeting. After a week, Eminem new album My Name Is. Its cumulative sales of up to 8.5 million, surpassing the highest-selling album of the week 8.45 million on Madonna, has become one of the highest single-week record sales year in 1997. As the boss, Zhu Ke naturally got the news at the first time. Dang even said that the employees of Jinshu Guang Music will increase bonuses this month. Album My Name Is. The record unit price is $15.99 US. This is a relatively fair price and a price to go along with the popularity of Eminem. You know, the United States of frontline singers album is usually priced at about $15 to $22, a little low-end price tag labels. Our about $10 www.wooxiaspot.com. Also, in other words, in just 1 week, the cumulative sales of the album My Name Is reached 135 million US dollars. This number is absolutely exciting to anyone. Of course, the $135 million in sales in the first week does not represent pure profit. Among them, there are distributors, store distributors, taxes, manpower, publicity costs, etc., and they have to share this dollar. But even so, the profit of Jinshu Guang Music is also considerable, and, remember, this is just 1 week's sales of the album My Name Is, and the following benefits are completely imaginable. Fuck, I don't want to know, but Zhu Ke was also taken aback by the calculations. No wonder that when internet music is still not booming, music giants such as Polygram, EMI, Universal Music, Sony Records, etc., all have a market value of several billion or tens of billions of dollars. Except for the value of the copyright of the song, the annual sales alone are enough to drive anyone crazy. Sacred's face, wealth touching the heart. No wonder Sony is also a public record and music companies closed his partner to be ruined Michael Jackson's reputation, and on the number and value of copyright songs hold of his hands, forcing major companies to engage in entirely his rhythm. Zhu Ke sighed again and again. Ding dong. Congratulations, host. Get tips for a new future. Suddenly, Zhu Ke was shocked. The system is huge. You have been pretending to be dead for a long time. And finally bubbling. Zhu Ke is still quite looking forward to the powerful effect of the system, not to mention just SpongeBob SquarePants. Let Zucker turn to profit day, not to mention the other news. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Future Information Given by the System. After Zhu crossed over, like many of the predecessors of the crosser, he has personal golden fingers, which is the so-called system. Well, even though my own system often pretends to be dead, half-dead, relatively low-end one, but it is undeniable that Zhu Ke's first pot of gold was the news of the Netscape company's listing given by the system. Otherwise, even if Zhu Ke could succeed, it would not be possible for Zhu Ke to have what it is today, $700 million in net worth. Thinking about it this way, the system is still pretty awesome. The future information provided by the system is mostly information from European and American countries, and this is precisely what ordinary people lack in the Great Heavenly Dynasty. Yes, Zhu Ke is a traverser, knows some giant companies in Western countries and major historical events. However, Zhu Ke, who was born as an orphan in his previous life, is busy all day long with some exceptions. Where can I worry about this? Host, do you want to check the information? Check. Following Zhuke's order, the less intelligent system immediately responded. The message is below 1. Random House, as one of the largest English-language commercial publishing groups in the world, will be acquired by Bertelsmann Group from Germany in May 1998, acquiring 76% of the shares, valued at $5.9 billion. 2. Under Armour sporting goods company, founded by former Maryland football star Kevin Plank, is currently in poor operating conditions and urgently needs capital investment. Fuck, okay, please forgive Zhu Ke for exploding at this moment. Although Zhu is now a billionaire, he is still a small in his bones. It is not a matter of course to explode foul language actually. Zhu Ke has all the desire to die. How can I not know that Random House is so famous? But I can't afford Random House, which has a market value of nearly $10 billion. That's right, Zhu Ke is very greedy for Random House. After all, as the world's leading English-language commercial publishing house, the Penguin Publishing Group is comparable to it, not to mention that in the future the two giant companies will merge into one and become a global publishing house. The overlord of the industry. At the same time, in the news given by the system, Zhu Ke also saw some insider annual profit reports of Random House in fiscal year 2000. Random House had sales of $2.55 billion and a profit of $250 million. Furthermore, the profitability rate will increase at a minimum of 12% every year thereafter. Even though the profit and market value of Random House, including its growth rate, are far less than the development and profitability of internet companies, it wins in stability. Random House, which has a history of nearly 100 years, can be passed on forever as the heritage capital of the family, just like those wine estates in France. This is very rare. Well, I can't afford it. Zhu complained about the system, resisted the discomfort in his heart, and said, I can't afford it now, but it doesn't mean I can't afford it in the future. I slipped away. Under Armour sporting goods company. Zhu Ke, who used to watch the NBA in his last life, certainly knows that there is such a sporting goods company in the United States. The biggest star he has signed is impressively NBA star Stephen Curry, known as Currishian. Of course, there are also other stars signed, such as Brandon Jennings, Kemba Walker, and Raymond DeFelton al. In the data given by the system, Zhu Ke quietly saw some of its future development trajectory. Yes, it is indeed not as strong as Adidas and Nike in the sports market. The market value of is also far inferior to the two giants Adidas and Nike, but the market value of $4.3 billion in 2020 is still a very delicious cake. The fragrant kind. Entertainment media groups, in addition to film, television, animation, music, and peripheral commodity chain stores, often must have related industries such as sports and books. After all, they themselves are also a member of the pan-entertainment category. If I can buy shares, or even directly acquire Under Armour, then I will definitely be able to make up for the shortcomings of Jinchuguang Entertainment Group in the sports market. For a time, Zhu thought a lot it is completely feasible to acquire or invest in Under Armour. Are you short of money? I have it. The most important thing is that the market value of Under Armour Sports is really not high now. Is it early for it to be listed on the US stock market? If the acquisition is successful, then Zhu can make the most of the advantage of the crossover, including those newcomers who have not yet entered the NBA in one fell swoop, or signing future little monsters who have not yet entered the NBA, such as LeBron James, even Diao. I don't want to know. I was completely shocked when I thought about it. Zhu Ke suddenly found out, sports goods are totally messed up. Do it if you think of it. Zhu has self-knowledge and understands his own disadvantages, but there is still a little bit of excellence. That is, he can calculate and work hard. At the moment, he immediately contacted Zhang Wei, a private lawyer, and once again entrusted him to investigate the company to learn more about the Under Armour sporting goods company. Lawyer Zhang, I'll leave the matter to you. Oh, do you mean no time? Naturally, the sooner the better, so that's it. After the matter is over, I will cover all the money for your trip to Hawaii. Zhu hung up the phone with a smile. After hanging up the phone, Zhu, who is alone in the villa, became a little commotion at this time. Shouldn't you come to celebrate and celebrate? Immediately, Zhu simply cleaned up, and drove to find Jessica Chastain this night. There are no many roads to Pension, and the bluebird is attentive to look around this night. The flower path has never been swept away by the fate, and the gate is now open for the king. The next day Zhu, who slept until he got up at noon, accompanies Jessica Chastain to finish the meal, and then heads to Silicon Valley according to the scheduled itinerary today. ICQ, located in Silicon Valley, will hold a board of directors. In addition to the management headed by Wesker reporting to the board of the recent work results, the most important thing is to hold a seminar on the issue of U.S. stock listings. Is it going to be listed in the near future, or is it planning to go public in a year or two? This is a problem, worthy of consideration by all board shareholders. At this meeting, the company's CEO Weist and Microsoft shareholder representatives had a fierce dispute. The representative of Microsoft said, "I don't agree with planning to go public in the near future, haha." CEO Weist sneered. "Of course you Microsoft don't want ICQ to go public so soon. After all, the tragic situation of Netscape, a lesson learned from the past, is right in front of you. What do you mean by this? Don't forget that Microsoft is also a shareholder of ICQ. Will we let ourselves suffer losses?" Worcester www.wooksyaspit.com. You have to understand, ICQ the company is still in an unprofitable state, and if it goes public hastily, its market value will definitely be lower than our expectations. The sonorous and powerful words of the Microsoft representative immediately caused everyone in the conference room to fall into a state of whispering discussions. Goldman Sachs, News Corporation, Sequoia Capital and other representatives began to whisper. "Humph," CEO Weist coldly snorted. "Loth, let me be more blunt. Aren't you Microsoft already developing instant messaging software? Netscape's browser was used by you to force pre-installation of the IE browser. I was defeated, and I am now in a state of lingering and half-dead. Then can I say that your Microsoft instant messaging software also intends to use rogue means to fight ICQ?" The voice fell, and the entire conference room exploded in an instant. The representatives of multiple investment institutions present are all human beings until now, where they still don't know about Microsoft's careful thoughts. Co-author, you are planning to play alone without us. In an instant, representatives of Goldman Sachs, News Corporation, Sequoia Capital, etc. could not sit still. A representative of Goldman Sachs said loudly, "It must be listed in the near future." The representative of Sequoia Capital agreed, "I agree. I will report the news to the board of Sequoia Capital as soon as possible, and I will convince them, once ICQ is listed, it will inevitably be able to obtain sufficient development funds and develop and grow in the shortest possible time. Even if Microsoft uses rogue methods again, ICQ will not have no room for counterattacks." For Zhuke, of course I agree. The first update of is here. Chapter 130, Bezos and Jobs. The ICQ's meeting to seek a listing on the U.S. stock market eventually eliminated Microsoft and voted against it, and other shareholder representatives ended with a vote of approval. A representative of Goldman Sachs solemnly said, "The matter of the company going public is left to Goldman Sachs. I believe that, except for Morgan and Citigroup, Goldman Sachs is absolutely professional in the world." Upon hearing this, Zhu Ke and others nodded their heads in recognition. "What? You said that Goldman Sachs, as an ICQ shareholder, can no longer act as an underwriter to undertake the ICQ listing plan?" Dude, Goldman Sachs, as one of the largest investment banks on Wall Street, their path is wild, and black and white is not enough to describe their strength. Whether it is a backdoor listing or the use of Jin Chan's way to go public, they all expressed no pressure. This is the confidence of one of the 5 major investment banks on Wall Street. The first planned listing meeting ended in this way. Basically, the ICQ listing has become a foregone conclusion. There will be a few more meetings in the follow-up, just to supplement it. "Hey, Zhuke, do you want to find a place to have a meal together?" At this moment, Bei patted Zhuke on the shoulder with a bald head. "Eat." Of course Zhuke guessed some of Bei's bald head thoughts. Meals and the like are definitely excuses. It is true to talk to yourself about things. At the moment, Zhuke did not refuse either. "Jeff, of course there is no problem with eating, but it's too early to eat now. Do you want to go to a place with me first?" Zhuke smiled. "Of course there is no problem." Bei bald had laughed. "Sometimes, the relationship between people is very strange. For example, Zhuke and Jobs have known each other for more than 2 years. It stands to reason that even if the two are not good friends, they are still acquainted. However, the reality is that the two of them just look at each other unpleasantly. Jobs didn't look down on Zhuke's strong tradesman, caress, and rude temper. Zhuke didn't look down on Jobs' arrogance that didn't look at him. In short, the two are not good at each other. In contrast, Bei's bald head is different. Although Bei Bald is from Princeton University majoring in finance, he is particularly good at calculating. This is similar to Zhu Ke. In terms of communication, the two have the same unexpected personality and temperament, and the relationship is very ironic. "Huh? Zhuke, don't you need to call a car?" Bei Bald looked at Zhuke in surprise. "Of course not. We are not far away from the Wald building. Well, it will take a few minutes to walk over now. Zhu Ke waved his hand and smiled. Not long the two entered the Wald building. This time, Zhu Ke did not go to the Water World Animation Studio, but took the elevator directly to the LinkedIn network company located on the 7th and 8th floors. I said, Zhu Ke, your business scope is quite wide. When did you start this company? It's very small. Bald had smiled and cursed pocket. MMP. Haha. Zhu Ke curled his lips and said, I run a lot of companies. Do I have to tell you that it won't work? Although Zhu Ke and Bei have bald heads, they have similar temperaments, but in terms of investment, there is a huge difference between the two. Zhu Ke belongs to the wide-spreading model. As long as he can make money, he will do it as soon as possible. Bald heads tend to focus on one line, he once said. As long as we do a good job of the basic disk and strive to maximize it, then reinvest in related subsidiary industries to achieve the greatest possible success. Amazon.com is my basic disk. When I entered the LinkedIn company, I first saw Jeff Weiner, the president of LinkedIn. Well, both of them are called Jeff. One is Jeff Bezos and the other is Jeff Weiner. They have the same name but different last names. Boss, you are here just right. I have good news to tell you that after we adjusted our business strategy, we have made breakthrough progress recently. We have successfully reached a number of cooperation with Johnson & Johnson's laboratory. Jeff Weiner suppressed his excitement and said, oh. Zhu Ke was also an instant shock. What are you saying is true? Of course, Jeff Weiner said solemnly. I won't make fun of you, boss, about this kind of thing. It's true. Bei's bald head on the side also said in astonishment, oh my god. I said, Zhu Ke, what exactly does your company do? It can cooperate with pharmaceutical giants like Johnson & Johnson? What's more, it's its most important experiment room. Zhu Ke was excited and outspoken. Bei's bald head was shocked. Dude, that's Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson is one of the largest pharmaceutical medical supply companies in the world. By 2020, its market value is as high as $390 billion, faintly becoming the world's largest medical industry hegemon. Even the world retail giant Walmart's market value is not as good as its many well-known brands such as Johnson & Johnson, Neutrogena, Smart, Jiaoshang, Bondi, Dacnin, Tylenol, etc. Sound familiar or unfamiliar? That's right, they are all products of Johnson & Johnson. Jeff Weiner excitedly said, boss. Our cooperation with Johnson & Johnson in talent introduction and internet recruitment, although it cannot provide the company with a large-scale profit model, it can definitely play a huge role in enhancing the company's brand image. I agree, Zhu Ke said for the first time. You are right. We also cooperate with giant companies such as Microsoft, Cisco, Mobil Oil, Citibank, etc. However, in the recruitment field, the cooperation between middle and low-level employees is the kind of cooperation common human resources. But Johnson & Johnson's laboratory is different. Of course it's different. Johnson & Johnson's laboratory, that is their core department, except for the core management, all of its staff are scientists, and they are the top talents in the medical industry in the world today. LinkedIn can cooperate with them on top talents, which is undoubtedly a leap forward. Once the news is released, it is bound to enable LinkedIn to make a big splash in the internet field. Moreover, in the future, we will be able to quickly reach a series of cooperation with other large companies in the recruitment of important positions. There is no doubt that the future of LinkedIn is promising. Zook, my friend, please allow me to invest heavily in this great company and become a member of it. Amazon likes to work with such a great company. At this moment, Bei's bald head's unscrupulous character was vividly reflected. Although he is the kind of person who is very cautious in investment, at this moment, he really feels that LinkedIn has a bright future if he changes to jobs here. Even if he is interested, he will not be straightforward. You reading www.youcan'tchew.com will arrogantly devalue it as worthless. But then use kindness and compassion to say, I can save. Don't doubt it. In 1999, Jobs, on behalf of Apple, acquired HGY Music Mall, the predecessor of Apple Music Mall. In the presence of all the management of HGY Music Mall, he directly devalued the product as a dog blood sprinkler. No good, my friend. I'm really relieved to hear you praise my company like this. Of course, LinkedIn is not great, Zhu Ke said in a compelling voice. As for the shareholding you mentioned, let's look at it again. Of course, you must not misunderstand. I don't look down on you, but because our LinkedIn is not good enough now. Hearing that, Bezos almost exploded on the spot. If you don't sell shares, you can say you don't sell. What are you doing? The second update is sent thanks to the book Friend, The Promise of 20 Lies for Giving Another Reward. Chapter 131, The Gains of Gale Capital. Baldhead's downline is so low that even Zhu, who prides himself on being a little shameless, can't help but feel a little hard to resist at this moment. Great, please be sure, share shares, win-win cooperation, waiting for the words, speaking from the mouth of Baldhead, the words kneeling and licking did not have the slightest delay, as if they had been tempered through long-term practice. Nima, Baldhead deserves to be a person from Princeton University who majored in finance. Wall Street's view of the supremacy of interests is fully implemented in his life. As long as it is profitable, he won't care about so-called arrogance, the eyes of the world. He doesn't care at all. Zhu Ke sighed deeply, but felt that he was in a cheeky kung fu and needed more practice. Jeff Bezos' Amazon Mall, what a huge enterprise it is. In the next generation of 2020, the market value will exceed $1.3 trillion, becoming the world's only three large companies with a market value of over $1 trillion, second only to Microsoft and Apple in market value. Its annual profit is a huge figure, which can completely catch up with the fiscal revenue of some small countries in 1 year. However, even so, Amazon brazenly led the annual subsidies for small and medium-sized enterprises in the United States. Is this what people do? Want to face Microsoft's Bill Gates and Apple's Tim Cook? Can't do it anyway, but they did it with a bald head. Almost all citizens of the United States know that Amazon pays extremely low taxes every year, but it receives high government subsidies for small and medium-sized enterprises. Does Bezos care? He believes in the principle of Wall Street's interest first. He doesn't care about these things at all, therefore. Sometimes it is not an empty talk to say that Zhu Ke and Bei have a bald head. It is just the shamelessness of being a person, and the two will naturally have a good relationship. In the following time, after visiting the LinkedIn company, Zhu Ke and Bei Shatao left and enjoyed a sumptuous dinner together. Zhu, you will pay for this meal. After ordering food in the restaurant, Bezos suddenly said bitterly, "Bald head, didn't you say to invite me to dinner? Why do you want me to pay the bill? You took the wrong medicine," Zhu Ke said with a curled mouth. "I'm going to take medicine. But it's all because of you. After all, you didn't let me take a stake in LinkedIn. I am now very injured and traumatized mentally. So you have to make up for me and start with this meal." Start. Bezos stared at Zhu scorchingly. "Damn it, I've seen someone shameless. I've never seen anyone so shameless. You're still a billionaire, and you will become the richest man in the United States in the future. You are too shameless." Zhu looked at Bei's bald head and smiled. "You want to invest in the field. As a friend, I am actually very welcome, but this time, how many shares of Amazon are you going to replace? Aren't you shameless?" Louds also brazenly come here again. In fact, Bezos invites to dinner is indeed a joke that some people know in the future. It happened in 2015, after an internet summit. Bezos and Facebook founder Zha together entered the restaurant for dinner. After the meeting, Bezos let Zha pay the bill after the meal. But classmate Zha is not a kind person, and he is notorious for his shamelessness. In the end, the two argued for a long time in the restaurant over who paid the bill. It was not until the end that the two of them did not persuade either, and each paid the bill to end the dispute. The news of Bezos' pleas was exposed via media the next day, which attracted ridicule from many people. But in fact, Bezos and Zha didn't care about these things at all. It can be seen how shameless the two are. "Jeff, you are the owner of Amazon. Your net worth is several times that of mine. If you don't entertain guests for dinner, God won't be able to pass it. Do you want God and his old man to come to the mortal world before you will pay the bill?" Zhu Ke mocked. "Move out of God. Just ask if you are afraid." "Haha," Baldhead seriously said. "God can't eat free food, don't you think? Damn it, I still underestimated your shamelessness." In the end, Zhu was defeated on the question of whom to treat. In fact, both Zhu and Bezos are billionaires, and even if they stoop again, they don't mind the small money too much. Just one meal. Who can't afford it? The reason for arguing about these is completely out of interest, adding a little bit of fun to life during the meal. Baldhead finally revealed his purpose of looking for Zhu. "What?" Zhu Ke narrowed his eyes and said, "You mean there are shareholder representatives of several investment banks, suggesting that you speed up Amazon's expansion, directly acquire several companies, and merge? Implement leapfrog development?" "Yes," Baldhead said solemnly, "I do not approve of blind expansion. Even if my share of shares gives me absolute leadership of Amazon, I still hope that you can support my decision on the board of directors. This is what I am looking for." US reason, Zhu nodded. "In fact, Zhu agreed with Bay's decision. Expansion does not mean blind expansion. In the original time and space history, each and every one of the Internet, with the help of the public and investment banks' pursuit of the Internet, in the late 1990s, large-scale expansion of the company, in a very short period of time, created a large market value of billions, tens of billions of dollars. The company prominent for a while. However, after the arrival of the Internet bubble, those Internet companies that expanded wildly and blindly went bankrupt and closed down one after another. And the prestige was not there. Amazon is different. Although it suffered heavy losses in the Internet bubble and its market value plummeted, it relies on Bay's bald-headed strategy to make Amazon have high risk resistance and become the first profitable company in the Internet bubble. That's amazing. For this alone, Microsoft can compare. Based on this, Amazon can stand out from the rest of the Internet companies and become a large company that has attracted global attention. Zhu Ke said solemnly, "Bald head, you guys just do what you want, and I support you. As for the shareholders, let them die and don't care about their at all." Bay Bald's head was settled. "My friend, I knew you would support me." "Thank you." Bay Bald smiled. Zhu curled his lips and said, "Don't just talk about these useless things. You pay for this meal." Don't even think about it. Well, he is still that shameless bald head. Time flies, and it has entered early October. After Zhu was idle for a while, he came to Wall Street in New York again. Daffin Capital Investment Corporation. "Boss, here are the financial statements for the past few days. Please have a look." The person in charge, Henry Jojenberg, handed Zhu a report. Zhu nodded, and took it. In the near future, Zhu Ke has not visited Daffin Capital much, but Daffin Capital's daily financial statements are reviewed by Zhu Ke. Once there's a huge investment loss, Zhu Ke will immediately suspend operations. "Well, yes, I have made another $3 million in the past few days. Henry, you told several project teams that in accordance with the company's regulations, an additional 2% reward will be given." Zhu Ke said, "Thank you, boss." Henry smiled immediately. In fact, the reason why Zhu Ke is so generous is that the company traders led by Henry have achieved Zhu Ke's satisfaction or even exceeded the profits they created for the company. From mid-August, Zhu Ke left Gale Capital and gave them $20 million to operate on their own. Almost 50 days have passed. They once again made a profit of $19.2 million for Zhu Ke, almost doubled. www.wuxiaspit.com. Yes, Zhu Ke asked them not to participate in the foreign exchange market on Hong Kong Island. But only the dividends in the foreign exchange markets of Southeast Asian countries were enough to earn under the impact of the financial crisis a lot of dollars. "Henry, you inform everyone and give them a short vacation of a few days," Zucker said suddenly. Henry's eyes condensed immediately, and he tentatively asked, "Boss, do you have to make big moves after the holiday?" Zhu did not answer, but smiled. A book friend asked the minister, "Why not invest in the mainland? After all, the Internet and real estate in the mainland in the big air can make a fortune if you just do it, which is faster than in the United States." But the minister dare not write about it. Those who are familiar with the minister know that the minister has been sealed off several books, so the minister can't write about things in the interior. Even if they do, they still have a taste. Hope to understand. Chapter 132, Input Cost. $270 million. The employees of Daffin Capital, I heard that Zhu Ke, the boss, gave them a holiday and gave them extra bonuses, so they were naturally in a good mood. The boss is awesome. After receiving the prizes thankfully one by one, they left with their friends. Zhu Ke calmly accepted the compliments of everyone. After all, it is very rare for Zhu Ke, who is stingy and marketable, to be able to give out bonuses except for the fact that they win the infrared. Well, it hurts a little bit. Carefully cut a meat. That's right, for Zhu Ke, giving out bonuses is just a matter of cutting meat. "Man, you said Zhu Ke lacks a big picture. I care about everything, even a small amount of money is distressed, not enough." Haha. Zhu Ke, who is known for his shamelessness, is certainly able to accept criticism from others. Isn't it just being stingy? What's the big deal? There are more stingy people in the world, and no one has been drowned by the slobber of gold. Petty, stingy, rude speech, violent temper, calculating. These are Zhu Ke's character shortcomings. In other words, can a person without personality defect still be called a human? How cruel a person who can get rid of his personality defects is to himself. Zhu often warned himself, "I cross over, making money is the purpose, but not the main purpose. Everything is for the better enjoyment of life," and by the way, keep his name in the global film history. Therefore, Sometimes Zhu doesn't care about other people's colored eyes is like a hot topic discussed by many people at the beginning of the 21st century. Do people live to eat or eat to live? In the major internet forums of the Great Celestial Dynasty at that time, some sense in European elites, as well as the so-called experts and public knowers, often use this to demean the Great Celestial Dynasty and uplift Europe and the United States. They're ridiculed. Look, our people, every day we think about what to eat in the morning, at noon, and at night. The same is true for our ancestors. In order to pursue appetite, they created 8 major cuisines, and one after another. Local cuisine is also called culture. Look at the United States and Europe. Their citizens are not like that. People are pursuing spiritual civilization. Although there are a lot of foods, they only eat to fill their stomachs. So, we are far worse than others. My fellow citizens, we must remember that we cannot live to eat, we must eat to live. Put your mother's shit. You have a look of old sputum. Look, what kind of dirty language is this? Zhu sneered at these sense and European spirits. Actually, Zhu Ke thinks, whether you live to eat or eat to live, if you say you go to the big sky, you will never live without it. If you have the ability, you will not eat in the future. Life is too short, just a few decades, and I have to experience all kinds of unsatisfactory things. Treat yourself better and eat better. What's wrong? We live our little life peacefully. Do you need to blame? Are you eating your rice or robbing your wife? Sense and Haojing, to put it bluntly, they are a group of double-standard dogs with no bottom line and no distinction between right and wrong. While they don't enjoy the food from different countries that others can't taste, they proudly point to the commoners who eat braised pork and say, look, this is the inferior local people. MMP. Is the perspective of others that important? Sometimes, the most rare thing about people is to be yourself. There is no doubt that even though Zhu Ke is shameless, he is still alive and well. Zhu did not rush back to Los Angeles, but led the bodyguard and checked into a 5-star hotel near Wall Street. They can take vacations and rest. As the boss, I am going to be busy. After all, this time I really need to make big moves. Whether I can make a fortune or not depends on this time. Asia financial crisis. It is a global financial crisis with the greatest impact and the largest number of countries after the 1930s and 1940s. The economic losses it caused and the harm it caused to other countries were second only to the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008. Once in a few decades, how can you let go of Zhu Ke, a marketer who regards wealth as fate? People are not for themselves. The heavens die. I won't scrape a layer of oil from Japan and South Korea this time. I am sorry that God has given me the opportunity to be born again. At the moment, Zhu Ke, who was staying at the hotel, began to constantly recall the development model of the financial crisis in Japan and South Korea, and combined the current collected data to make simulations again and again, striving to minimize risks and maximize profits. Time is fleeting. October 12, 9 a.m. Wall Street. Defen Capital Investment Corporation. Zhu, Henry and other senior executives of Gale Capital, sitting in the conference room at the moment. The atmosphere is very serious. Henry, as the person in charge, now you come to explain to everyone the current situation of the foreign exchange market in Japan and South Korea. Zhu Klang said. Okay, boss. Henry Eugenberger got up, nodded at the crowd, and said sternly, everyone, the holiday is over, so from today, I ask you to cheer up and remember that finance is war. Let me have a news first. Starting from the 5th of this month, European capital companies headed by Megaman, Trojans, ECTQ, etc., have successively allocated large sums of funds to enter the foreign exchange market in Japan. As for how much, we don't know. It's impossible to know, but judging, the amount is definitely not less than $1 trillion on 6, 7, 8, for 3 consecutive days. The yen foreign exchange market showed multiple declines and multiple rises, which can be described as chaos. Many small investment banks took the opportunity to make a fortune, and many people went bankrupt. From the point of view of the rise and fall, the major Japanese capital companies should end up personally, and of course the Japanese government is not excluded. Hearing this, everyone present, including Zhu Ke, had their expressions condensed. A foreign exchange market of mixed theory. www.wuxiaspit.com. Everyone knows what it means. Risk, huge risk, but at the same time, it also contains opportunities for wealth harvesting, Henry said again, but the situation changed yesterday. The yen foreign exchange market fell by 0.7% yesterday. Although it was not the most serious day of the yen depreciation in the past 3 months, I believe that everyone's professional vision can see something. Yes, the little devil can't hold it anymore. Everyone, Do you think the quantum fund led by Soros, including the 5 major investment banks on Wall Street, will let go of the opportunity to overwhelm the camel? No, Henry said excitedly. This is no longer a guess, everyone. The time has come for us to put the flames on fire, and the war has begun. In an instant, the entire conference room was overwhelmed by applause and shouts. Zhu also stood up and applauded Henry's and the talent of these talents who are keenly grasping the small changes in the market. Zhu stood up for the first time and announced, I announce that from now on, Devon Capital has entered a state of combat readiness. The total capital of $270 million is the ammunition I provide for you. At the same time, in the major investment banks on Wall Street, many people also keenly discovered the opportunity in the yen and foreign exchange market, began to raise ammunition one after another, and decided to do a big job. There is no doubt that in the foreign exchange market for the yen, the number of investment companies involved, the high amount of capital invested, and the wide range of involvement in the foreign exchange market have surpassed the financial crisis in the Southeast Asian market in many aspects. The second update of his sent thank you book Friend X Xiao X for your reward. Chapter 133, No One Can Stop Me. October 13, 8 a.m. Zhu Ke, who is in Devon Capital, once again received a financial statement, mainly yesterday's report on the yen foreign exchange market. After the turmoil on the 11th, the yen depreciated by 0.7%. This is the result of a game between a group of international speculators carrying trillions of dollars and Japanese financial giants. Yesterday, on the 12th of this month, the yen fell another 0.4%. Yesterday's decline was completely within Zucker's expectations. After all, based on recent data and Henry's judgment, it is not difficult to find that the Japanese government is about to fail. Instead of export-oriented countries, for the sake of their own country's capital prosperity, and in the absence of a sound financial system in their own country, they rashly and completely open up their financial markets will inevitably lead to a serious shortage of reserves. Its financial and foreign exchange market is in a large number of international markets. In the eyes of speculators, it has become a sieve full of loopholes. False prosperity is simply broken. Zhu can fully understand the sorrow of these countries that replace export-oriented economies. How easy is it to establish a sound financial system? The financial markets of Western countries such as the United Kingdom and the United States have been established in countless turbulences after 100 years or even 200 years. On the other hand, the financial markets of Southeast Asia have only lasted more than 10 years, including the Little Devil country, which ranks among the top in the world in GDP data. The establishment of its financial markets is only a mere 30 years. They have sieves everywhere. Their ability to resist risks is too bad. You are a fat sheep, so I can't blame others for devouring you. Finance and war are no jokes. Henry, you tell the big guy that after 10 minutes, you will start to short the yen market in an orderly manner. The specific operation is subject to your opinion, Zhu Ke said in a deep voice. Okay, boss. Henry Jojenberg was suddenly excited. The total capital of $270 million. He has not experienced it, but it can be said that it is the first time that he has completely relied on his opinions. This is a golden opportunity for any Wall Street person who is committed to the financial market. 50 times leverage. Guys, let's try the water with 50x leverage first. Following Henry's order, all the traders of Gale Capital immediately began to operate according to the instructions. Devon Capital's $270 million is equivalent to $13.5 billion under the operation of 50 times leverage. Compared with the multi-trillion yen foreign exchange market, this amount of funds is not much, but Henry chose the entry point. It's really great has become the last straw that overwhelms the camel on the capital wrestling field. 3 hours. In the next 3 hours, Devon Capital was almost invincible. It was overwhelmed by the Japanese foreign exchange market, and the Japanese financial giants who wanted to restore the situation were torn apart. Fell 0.15%, rose 0.08%, fell 0.09%, rose by 0.06%, fell another 0.07%. The situation of alternating rises and falls has made a group of financial speculators desperate. And those retail investors who are speculating on foreign exchange are even more frightened. To cardiac arrest. Nima is too exciting. Still the same sentence. Without a good physique and a strong heart, if you rush into the treacherous foreign exchange market, it is tantamount to seeking your own death. 3 hours later, the yen fell by 0.23% more than before, $27 million. That's right, this is the harvest of Gale Capital in just 3 hours. Good job, guys. As the boss, Zhu Ke was very excited to plot his employees' constant rise and fall, and to find the entry point and timing from it is a very challenging task. If you are not careful, you can lose all the games. Even if you don't lose all of them, you will lose huge amounts. And the employees of Gale Capital, under Henry's instructions, nearly perfected the set goals. How can Zhu Ke be stingy with praise? Looking for fighters from the crisis is not what Zhu Ke is good at. After all, the traversers can only know the general trend, but Henry and others are best at controlling the rise and fall of each inch. It is a big taboo for the financial industry to guide the insider by outsiders. Boss, I suggest to contact the bank immediately and increase leverage, so that we can get more records, Henry said to Zhu Ke. It is good, Zhu Ke did not refuse. Don't worry, I will contact you right away. For this big move, I have prepared a deposit of $50 million in the bank in advance, which is enough for you to give full play to your abilities. Long live the boss. In an instant, Henry and others shouted that people on Wall Street are lunatics. The more risky they are, the more excited they are. This is why many people lose their fortunes, but you can't deny that they can also make your fortune soar. In the next period of time, Devon Capital once again hit the yen and foreign exchange market profit $8 million, a loss of $5.7 million, profit $4.5 million, a loss of $2 million. Wars were burning and blood boiled. Financial investment banks made tens of millions of dollars in instant profits. Of course, many investment banks fell amidst risks. The foreign exchange market is not a stock market. It has no opening and closing deadlines. It operates almost 24 hours a day. Therefore, the scope of the war is extremely wide. As of 8 a.m. on the 14th, Devon Capital has experienced a 24-hour battle and made a total profit of $75 million. Such a huge return made Zhu Ke bloom. His grinning mouth almost reached the back of his head, fart. Facing such an amazing return, even the saint can't calm down. Www.uxiaspit.com. What are you going to do now? Of course it is to celebrate with champagne. Boss, the more at this time, the more we must be vigilant. According to my estimation, the next yen and foreign exchange market will be full of crises. Soros Quantum Fund, Wall Street's 5 major investment banks, and the little devil government will definitely be at a time we couldn't judge. We suddenly entered the yen and foreign exchange market in a big way. Henry worried. Henry's worries are not unfounded. Once Soros Quantum Fund, Wall Street's 5 major investment banks, and the little devil government enter the market, the yen's foreign exchange market will surely come to an end that no one can predict. You must know that the capital reserves they have are enough to move a market of trillions of dollars and can instantly destroy the financial and foreign exchange market of any country in the world. A carelessness, let alone Devon Capital's current over $300 million, even if it doubles tenfold, it can be done for you. The risk is too great, Henry. You can't tell when they will enter the arena, can you? Zhu Ke asked. Yes, I don't deny this, Henry said solemnly. Hearing this, Zhu Ke suddenly laughed. You do not know, but I know. You must know that Zhu Ke is a traverser. Although the ability to control the entry point of the other inch is not as good as the financial talents of Wall Street, the judgment of the general trend is unmatched. What? You said the butterfly effect. Zhu Ke does not deny this, but in the face of the multi-trillion-dollar yen foreign exchange market, Zhu Ke does not think there is any butterfly effect that can completely reverse the situation. Unless a large-scale war breaks out now, no one can stop me from making a fortune. Zhu Ke is confident at the moment. Chapter 134, Do you want to jump? Me too. From October 15th to 18th, for 4 consecutive days, the yen and foreign exchange market showed continuous turbulence. A group of international speculators and trillions of dollars of free capital are constantly impacting the yen foreign exchange market. Not only that, but the futures and stock markets of Little Devil's country also showed large-scale volatility due to the turbulence in the yen and foreign exchange market. Toshiba, the world-renowned electric appliance giant, is the most notable example. In these 4 days, Toshiba's stock was severely damaged, falling by a limit of 15%, and losing more than $5 billion in paper assets. Similarly, Japanese giants such as Toyota, Panasonic, Sony, and Mitsubishi have suffered severe declines in their stock markets in just 4 days. The losses of Little Devil country in the stock market alone amounted to tens of billions of dollars. Futures, Little Devil's futures market almost fell. A group of international speculators are frantically plundering their cakes. Zhu Ke also followed behind, searching for wealth with a smile, and without changing his voice, He once again made more than $40 million in profit in ancient times. Hessian fell and Jiaqing was full. Today, there are also little devils who have suffered, and Zhu Ke made a fortune in a muffled voice. On the 19th, Zhu Ke suddenly stopped all operations of Gale Capital. Boss, why stop now? A senior financial person asked puzzledly. The voice fell, and many of the senior Wall Street traders around also looked at Zhu Ke suspiciously. Now is a good time to earn wealth. Why stop? Is the boss looking at the little devils too cute and planning to let them go? Zhu Ke did not explain. Henry changed his expression and suddenly exclaimed, Boss, do you foresee that the 5 major investment banks and quantum fund will enter the market? That's right. Zhu Ke nodded solemnly. Hiss. In an instant. Henry gasped. To be honest, Henry actually somewhat questions Occur's judgment. Although the current Japanese foreign exchange, futures, and stock markets are in chaos, for investment banks, they are generally stable. Of course, this kind of stability is for them to be able to make money with confidence. Reverse the retail investors with large audiences, they have suffered huge losses. Doubt. Henry did not oppose Zucker's decision. You must know that in the case of the Tybot hype a few months ago, it was Zhu Ke who seized the best fighter opportunity. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible to make a fortune of up to $260 million by letting him operate it. Now everyone is observing the order, and the funds are withdrawn from the foreign exchange, stocks, and futures markets in an orderly manner. Fast, must be fast. Zhu Ke almost roared at this moment. What are you guys doing in your days? The big dealers and big capitals are about to enter the market. I don't want to evacuate urgently. I plan to lose them all. Yes, boss. Everyone responded quickly and began to quickly operate the capital withdrawal. The big dealers and big capitalists enter the market. What is the first thing to do? Of course, they use their strong capital ability to kick out some speculators and grab all the wealth they had earned over the past few days. Big fish eats small fish. This is the cruelest battlefield. Zhu Ke is a traverser. I dare not say anything else. I am very confident in controlling the general situation. Quantum funds boss, we have received news that the Japanese government has held an emergency meeting. The content of the topics is particularly well known, but the high probability is to use their foreign exchange reserves, a financial expert said to Soros. Humph. Soros sat on the chair with a trace of contempt on his sullen face. You don't need to guess that the little devil government intends to use foreign exchange reserves. After all, their foreign exchange reserves are at least $150 billion to $200 billion. It's huge capital. The size is not comparable to that of the small countries in Southeast Asia. They all add up to this number. Upon hearing this, the financial expert was taken aback. He now wants to ask Soros, what should he do next, how to proceed? Of course it is a heavy blow. Before they use foreign exchange reserves, they kick out some investment banks, and then destroy their foreign exchange, stocks, and futures markets before the Japanese government can react. Soros calmly at this moment, his voice is cold. Even if the temperature in the room is very high, one can clearly feel a burst of chill. But the boss, our capital volume seems to be insufficient to accomplish this target. Financial experts worry the amount of funds is insufficient. How to destroy it? This is unrealistic. Soros did not answer his question head-on, but pointed to the buildings across the window. Man, don't forget them. They are so sure of the timing. Even I dare not say anything. The financial experts were suddenly shocked. The buildings that Soros looked at are impressively representative of the top 5 investment banks on Wall Street: Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. Their 5 major investment banks are the real financial emperors of Wall Street and the supreme players overlooking the world of finance. Even the arrogant such as Soros has to admit this. Goldman Sachs. One of the heads of Goldman Sachs, John Tabiggs, a financial crocodile among the Jews, immediately smiled after hearing the report of his subordinates. Soros has attacked. What can we do? Of course, follow up. Let me say more. Mr. Tabiggs, don't you worry that this is Soros's bureau. The confidant aide worried. John Kurtaborgs, known as the ghost fox of the Jews, was quite disdainful. You are right. Soros is indeed a very cunning jackal. He is worthy of your all-out efforts. Opponents, but now I am quite sure that this is not a game. After a pause, his eyes narrowed and said, even if it is, we can kill him in the first place. Don't forget, we are Goldman Sachs, confident, powerful and fearsome. Self-confidence. October 19, 1997, 2 p.m. The yen foreign exchange market suddenly changed. Suddenly, The yen is climbing frantically at a speed that many people can't respond. Rose 0.09%, rose by 0.07%, rose 0.12%, rose by 0.15%. In less than 3 hours, the depreciation of the yen was completely contained, and it rose by 2.5%. 2.5%. The investment banks who invested heavily in shorting the yen almost went crazy at this moment. And their hearts were broken. Damn. A European investment bank manager was about to split his eyes and said hoarsely, Who is it? I'm going to kill him. Lao's 300 million is gone in an instant. He is crazy, of course. He also has reasons to be crazy. Anyone who is in heaven 1 second, and fell into the next second, will go crazy similarly. In another investment bank, a female person in charge directly gave herself a slap in the face. You reading www.uukanchu.com. It's careless. The big dealers in big capital must have entered the market. They are emptying our wealth. It's gone. It's all gone. The profit these days, including the principal of $450 million, has evaporated more than half in an instant. Women are desperate, and all the traders under them are also standing on the spot loss. Huge, unacceptable loss. There is no doubt that with the admission of the 5 major investment banks and quantum funds, their crazy operations have caused many red-eyed investment banks to lose huge amounts of assets in less than a day. Even some investment banks that used high leverage directly declared bankruptcy one by one. The financial people who lost the red-eyed eyes yelled at them. Of course, many people walked to the rooftop during the night of this day, and then jumped in despair today. Zhu Ke is lucky, but he is also very heart palpitations because just now, Zhu Ke and others were fortunate to escape in time, so when they opened champagne to celebrate, they saw with their own eyes a figure fell from the opposite building. Boom! The falling figure made a huge roar, and the blood-stained scene and the celebration scenes of the big profit investment banks formed an extremely ironic funny picture. Come from the risk of misery, and finally return to misery. This is a sentence familiar to Wall Street people, and it is vividly reflected today. Could not help but a picture appeared in Zhu's mind. 2 meticulously dressed men stood on the roof at the same time. One of the men smiled and said, "Are you going to jump?" "Well, so do I." Chapter 135, Government Shot. $200 billion. Looking at the jumping-off building in front of him, Zhu Ke felt very uncomfortable, but this is a common thing for Henry and other Wall Street people. After a short while, news came the person who jumped off the building was visionaries, the boss of Ares investment company. Visionaries, 47 years old, male, native of Texas, a senior practitioner on Wall Street in the Chilean silver crisis in 1982, he made a profit of $42 million in just 3 days. He was only 32 years old that year, and he became famous in one fell swoop. After that, many shots were made against the currencies of several countries, all of which were very profitable. He has accumulated hundreds of millions of fortunes, and in 1989 he founded his own investment bank called Ares Investment Company. In 1994, when the Mexican financial crisis broke out, Ares struck out again. In just 3 months, he made more than $970 million in the Mexican foreign exchange, futures, and stock markets, shocking the entire Wall Street. And in the same year, the income of his Ares investment company also multiplied. Although it is not comparable to the existence of Quantum Fund and the 5 major investment banks, the overall annual profit rate is as high as 510%, ranking first on Wall Street. There is no doubt that Ares is a well-deserved genius in the financial market. However, today, he made a huge and irreparable mistake. His eyes of Ares lost by greed, wrongly judged the timing of Soros and the 5 major investment banks. You must know that a day ago, he was still a Wall Street financial crocodile with nearly $10 billion in assets, and a super rich man with a personal net worth of more than $1.5 billion available now, whether it was the money of the investors in Ares, or all of his personal wealth. They were all lost in one day. There is nothing left, once in heaven, once in hell. From a billionaire to debt-ridden Ares in an instant. How can he accept such a defeat? He can't imagine what kind of ridicule and taunt he will face from people in the industry. He has no choice but to humiliately choose to jump and use death to escape reality. Unwilling, this Nima is Wall Street. For a time, Zhu was suddenly side boss. You don't have to pity him, and you don't have to pity any of them. Henry laughed at himself. People in our industry have a desire for wealth that is full of greed, and their hearts are extremely bloated. Can you believe that someone spends $2 million on a meal? Hearing this, Zhu Ke was taken aback. Fuck. A meal costs $2 million US, which is too extravagant for Nima. Is this a human thing, boss? You guess it right. The person who made the $2 million meal incident was Aries, who just jumped off the building. Well, no one on Wall Street knew about this. Buffett personally said that in terms of personal expenses, he couldn't catch up with Ari. See, after a pause, Henry continued, as for luxury houses, yachts, jewelry, high-end art, etc., they are all standard equipment. Extravagance and drunkenness are all people in our industry. Therefore, don't say it. Reese jumped off the building. Even if I jumped off one day, you don't need to sigh, boss, come from the risk of misery, and finally return to misery. Henry laughed at himself. This is the fate of us Wall Street people, the long pies on the pine trees, the pancake stalls on the cypress trees, stomped three-legged Kyongjiang jade liquid on the spot, and slammed up the gold, and the Emperor J talked with me. This is an old saying from the great Heavenly Dynasty, which can perfectly describe the extravagance of Wall Street people at this moment. Zirk was full of coldness. Nima is too terrifying. Don't look at Henry saying it in mock words, but his face is always smiling, which makes people shudder. Damn it, it's better for me to come to this place on Wall Street less in the future. It's too bad. These people are all lunatics. Yes, Zhu Ke does not deny that he was a little scared by them. Look at Henry, always smiling. Look at the group of people under him. After learning that Aries jumped off the building, they did not have a trace of sympathy or pity. One by one they were busy celebrating with champagne and celebrating the gale. The brilliant record of capital in their eyes. The death of a person is completely inferior to the topic of what they will eat later. Aries should have died a long time ago. He is not dead. How do we young people get to the top? He just won't jump off the building today. I will push him down sooner or later. A young 25-year-old trader of Daffin Capital said loudly in front of everyone. Listen, is this human? However, all the people present at Daffin Capital yelled out loudly, is there any sympathy? Even if there is such a trace, it is good your father is not at home. Just let your mothers fart. Zhu Ke muttered. Actually, Zirk can't say that he is afraid, but he doesn't want to see this industry. The risk is too great. Moreover, these people don't look at each of them with a net worth of millions or tens of millions, but they are completely slaves to wealth. I honestly make movies in Hollywood, and occasionally meet up with a few beautiful girls to discuss their romance. Isn't it good? Well, Zirk admits that he belongs to the kind of hedonistic layman, and he does not like to take risks in his bones. The next day the three major markets of Japan's foreign exchange, stocks, and futures, under the operation of the major Wall Street investment banks headed by Soros, once again showed a strange wave of growth. Zhu Ke Capital quietly followed behind and earned more than $2 million. Well, not much. In fact, there can be no more, because financial predators such as Soros are speculating on the rise of the yen. They are not blindly doing long. It is volatile, Henry also said. Big dealers and big capital are now brewing big moves. In this environment, it is extremely unwise to invest too much cost. Zirk nodded and said, yes, www.wuxiaspit.com. We are now waiting for the Japanese government to come forward, otherwise, the yen will fall sharply next. Sure enough, Zirk's judgment is not out. In the next few days, the yen depreciated again. On the 21st, the yen fell 0.42%. On the 22nd, the yen fell 0.79%. On the 23rd, it fell again by 0.99%. On the 24th, the decline exceeded 2%, reaching the largest day of the yen's decline since October. Bank failures and corporate bankruptcies have become a common occurrence in RB and China. At the same time, the futures and stock markets have also plummeted. Japanese corporate giants have suffered severe losses and their market value has plummeted. The number of layoffs in large companies in the past few days is as high as 50,000. The major investment banks on Wall Street and the major financial speculators from all over the world made their fortunes and looted the wealth of the little devils frantically. Zhu Ke Capital, following the trend of the wave, is also very profitable, and collects another $100 million. In just a few days, the direct economic losses caused to the little devil are as high as tens of billions of dollars, and the indirect losses are even more shocking figures. The Japanese government can't sit still anymore. At 9 a.m. on the 25th, the Ministry of Finance of the Little Devils issued a statement in response to the fall of the yen and the crazy behaviors of speculators from all over the world. We will launch a rescue plan today, use foreign exchange reserves of up to $208 billion, and fully respond to the foreign exchange market. As soon as the announcement was made, Japanese companies were instantly excited. They firmly believe that the government can effectively crack down on foreign capital. Haha, Zhu Ke looked at the news with extreme disdain. People's greed is not so easy to admit defeat. The real battle has just begun. The first update of is sent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, The Rescue Failed. The Japanese government has sold more than $200 billion of foreign exchange reserves. Of course, Zhu Ke can't be idle. On the one hand, the plan for the next stage is brewing, and on the other hand, it is analyzing the reasons for the outbreak of the Japanese financial crisis. What? You said that Zhu Ke still has a leisurely analysis of the causes of the crisis? Of course, knowing this and not knowing why, it is impossible to find opportunities in the cracks of crisis. Part of the main reason for most crises, especially the Asian financial crisis this time, is that the asymmetric information problem has worsened, leading to the extreme deterioration of the asset-liability situation. Among the key financial factors, especially private financial institutions, they are in chaos at all. In order to make money and profit, they open up lending services completely regardless. Excessive financial liberalization has led to a surge in borrowing supported by capital inflows. It is the beginning of all financial crises, not much else. Many Japanese banks have been doing this in just a few years in order to make high profits. Banks continue to open up borrowing. That's right, it's borrowing, and the loan service is widely opened. Even if your mortgage value and personal credit line are not enough, it doesn't matter. As long as the bank finds it profitable, they dare to lend you a large amount of loans. In just a few years, the annual profit rate of Bank of Japan has exceeded 45%. In order to pursue profit, the proportion of borrowing has increased sharply, and bad debts can be said to be everywhere. What? You want to borrow from our bank? Of course can. Just borrow 10 million yen. How can this be enough? You are too petty. Don't talk nonsense. You just want to borrow 100 million yen, and we can afford it. Oh, you said that your asset mortgage is not enough to bear 100 million yen in borrowing? It doesn't matter, we will help you get it. However, the loan interest will be a few points higher than the normal procedures. Is it acceptable? Dude, take a look. This is the reason for the prosperity of the banking industry in Japan's financial industry. One thing to know is that the money lent by the bank is actually the money of the depositor. They are not worried about not being able to collect the borrowed money. Anyway, these are the money deposited in the bank by the people, and not the personal bank employees. Even if the bank fails in the end, they can still make a fortune. And it is not the employees themselves who suffer the damage to their assets. We can make our own money. Who cares whether the depositor's money can be safely returned? This is a popular phrase in the Japanese banking industry in the mid to late 1990s. In short, the large-scale liberalization of lending services in the Japanese banking industry is one of the main reasons for the damage to the Japanese foreign exchange market. Zhu Ke looked at the report data in his hand, and exclaimed that Henry, it's been 3 months since the Southeast Asian financial crisis broke out, and the Japanese foreign exchange market plummeted. Only half a month. This kid's folk banks, 22 of them went bankrupt. What does it mean to close 22 private banks? Anyone knows that this means that all the money deposited by the depositor in the bank is gone. Where to? Of course. Entered the pockets of a group of bank employees, and entered the pockets of a group of national speculators who participated in the financial crisis. Well, part of it was in Zhu Ke's account, boss. I estimate that even if Japan can survive the financial crisis this time, its bankruptcy will definitely not be less than 40. Henry judged from the side. Zhu Ke laughed, and said nothing. Zhu Ke is a traverser. Even if he can't understand the number of banks that have failed under the financial crisis, Zhu Ke dares to make a bold judgment. The number of failed banks in Japan is definitely not less than 60, far surpassing Henry's judgment of 40. Anyway, the little devil is old and miserable this time. If you don't scrape your land 3 feet this time, Zhu Ke and the international speculators will definitely not take a break. The Japanese government has $200 billion to rescue the market. Want to prevent us from making a fortune? Try it yourself. Around 10 a.m. on the 25th, that is, 1 hour after the Japanese Ministry of Finance announced the launch of the rescue plan, it immediately invested tens of billions of dollars in the foreign exchange, futures, and stock markets. The Japanese government's financial advisory expert, 52-year-old Matsushita Shinmataji, spoke to the media for the first time. We are not a small country in Southeast Asia, we are a world power. Any country, region or investment institution that dares to provoke, we are all confident to defeat them. Our government has used $200 billion in foreign exchange reserves, which is the third largest in the world. You mean the jumping clown on Wall Street? You heard it right, they are the clowns in my eyes. If you don't believe me, you can wait and see. In response to the statement of the financial expert Matsushita Shinmataji, the Japanese natives are naturally confident and believe that this is the truth. However, many investment banks and international speculators, including Zhu Ke, are scornful of this. Our trillions of dollars of international free capital, even if we can't unite our forces, even if we can't work together, even if we can't act in a unified way, but it's not just a mere $200 billion. It will definitely be able to save the market in the following period of time. The yen foreign exchange market has completely turned into a battlefield in full swing. The type of a world shaking battle. Has the yen risen sharply? Is indeed up, but before the increase is much, it is instantly suppressed. You invested heavily, and we followed suit. When you didn't react, we sold at a high point and continued to make a profit. It's so fragrant. How much do you invest in the Japanese government? And the capitals led by the 5 major investment firms can all be able to scream one day, for a whole day. Japan's 3 major markets for foreign exchange, stocks, and futures are nothing short of a feather. As of 10 a.m. on the 26th, the yen has appreciated by 1.2% in 24 hours. Has the Japanese government win a fart? The 1.2% appreciation alone cost nearly $20 billion in foreign exchange reserves. Looking back at the many international speculators and investment banks, some of them have indeed lost a lot. But there are also giants such as the 5 major investment banks that have directly made profits of hundreds of millions. Huge scale capital, today, due to a few cut-in-time points, did not have any losses, but made a small profit. Not much, can also have $3 million. On the 26th, the Japanese government invested another $15 billion. On the 27th, the government invested $13 billion. On the 28th, another $17.5 billion was invested. As of November 8, the $200 billion bailout funds launched by the Japanese government have basically been spent, and the overall foreign exchange ratio of the yen has not increased significantly. This is a failure at all. A series of financial experts and people in Japan were completely dumbfounded. Stupid. The 52-year-old Japanese financial expert Matsushita Shinji www.wuxiaspit.com was full of consternation, and roared, "Impossible, how can our big RB empire fail? Fake, all fake, this is definitely not true, I firmly believe, refutation and shouting are completely the rights of the loser at this moment." On the evening news of the Japanese TV station on this day, the Minister of Finance of the Ministry of Finance of Japan directly and painfully announced that the rescue plan had failed. At this moment, the Japanese people are crying bitterly. At this moment, investment banking institutions on Wall Street and even the world are celebrating with champagne. Soros, directly in front of the owner of the Quantum Fund, said loudly, "The country of Japan now has become a delicious cake for us, guys. It's time to usher in our harvest season." Yes, boss. Gale Capital. At the same time, Zhu Ke stood in front of the crowd and shouted, "Guys, what are you waiting for? Little Devil's $200 billion foreign exchange has been spent. She is now like a little girl stripped of her clothes, letting us do what we do. Do it whatever you want. Hurry, hurry, it's time to make money." Quantum Fund, Gale Capital, and Wall Street's 5 major investment banks, including investment banking institutions and individuals around the world, almost fainted excitedly at this moment. The opportunity to reap wildly is here. Heaven collapsed, demons descended on the world, and there is no doubt that people on Wall Street turned into demons one after another and began to enjoy delicious food. Of course, for Zhu, Little Devil is not a good thing. Zhu did not hesitate to use all the funds, including recent profits, totaling $500 million, and all invested in the Japanese financial battlefield. The second update of his Cent. Chapter 137. Another profit of $300 million. With the failure of the Japanese government's rescue plan, Japan's futures, stocks, and foreign exchange markets have completely turned into a delicious cake among international speculators. One by one, investment banking institutions have raised huge sums of money. They used financial means to buy yen in accordance with the yen futures contract in a very short period of time, and then quickly sold it short, causing the yen interest rate to plummet, and the Japanese stock index fell sharply and profited from it. Hurry up, move faster, guys, During the $200 billion bailout period of the Japanese government, in addition to making a little bit of money, the profitability has fallen behind other investment banks too much. This time we have to make enough profit. What? You said that the giants of Japanese companies are still struggling. Do you still use me to teach you how to do it? Of course, I rushed to tear it up and gave them a lesson. One by one, the heads of investment institutions are urging the traders to implement their wealth accumulation plan almost in a screaming manner under the huge free capital with trillions of dollars. No matter how the Japanese giants struggle or resist unwillingly, it is useless. It's like a few babies blocking in front of a high-speed tank. Did you resist it? The government of your country has announced that it will give up bailing out a market. What can your private capital do? Disarm and surrender, bastard. Like the war decades ago, it's time to surrender. Choppy, a person in charge of Merrill Lynch, with a look of excitement completely revealed on his face at this moment. He is of course very excited when he sees his own growing profit. Sir, our profit this time is at least $1.5 billion, a trader excitedly said. Hearing this, the person in charge of Merrill Lynch yelled, "Stupid guy, is $1.5 billion worth my fanfare? I tell you, the minimum standard given by the board of directors is $4 billion. Do you know? In the Chinese market, our goal this time is $4 billion. Hearing this, the traders under his hands immediately condensed their expressions. They immediately guessed a possibility, that is to use the profit of the yen market to make up for the losses in the previous months of sniping the Hong Kong dollar. Yes, between August and October 1997, Soros and the top 5 major international speculators attacked the Hong Kong dollar 3 times. However, the result, in addition to being able to make a lot of money at the beginning, then he touched his nose. The foreign exchange reserves owned by the Hong Kong government are around $100 billion. Looking at the Asian region during the financial crisis, it is second only to the governments of Japan and the mainland. The Hong Kong government has used nearly $100 billion in foreign exchange reserves, and with the full support of the huge foreign exchange reserves of the central government, Soros and others, who have large amounts of funds, also broke their teeth in the process of swallowing them, and lost a lot of them. The strong support of the mainland government is something they never expected, especially Soros Quantum Fund, nearly vomiting out a more than $2 billion that will make profits in the Southeast Asian market. Also lost a lot. This old Hungarian man almost died out of anger. Therefore, this time, both Soros and the 5 major investment banks intend to make enough money in the Japanese market and make up for all the previous losses. Daffin Capital Investment Company. Yes, Henry waved his fists excitedly in the air and said loudly, "Boss, can you believe it? It's completely crazy now, thanks to our fast action. Otherwise we will never get the yen futures contract worth $300 million. Zhu Ke was also very excited when he heard this. Although the Japanese government invested $500 million in the first time the Japanese government announced that it had failed to rescue the market, but other investment banks were not stupid. All of them moved quickly. After robbing them for a long time, Gale Capital only grabbed the value from the crowd. A $300 million Japanese yen futures contract. Damn it, Zhu couldn't help cursing. Are they all rabbits? How come they move so fast? So I can't buy $200 million in Japanese yen futures contracts, so I'm going to make much less money. Henry, a group of traders. Boss, please be your own person. What you said, it's a shame that no outsider has heard it. Otherwise one by one will definitely be able to cry. Gale Capital grabbed a $300 million yen futures contract in a very short period of time. This number can hardly be said to be the top investment bank on Wall Street, but it definitely ranks in the top 5 after all. Daffin Capital has the existence of Zhu Ke, a hanger, and has long been ready to go. Otherwise their actions would not be so fast. Lehman Brothers, one of the 5 major investment banks, is already crying in the toilet. Why? Because they are one of the 5 largest investment banks on Wall Street. They were unable to grab the capital of Gale when they snapped up the yen futures contract because of a moment of hesitation. So, what you say, Zhu, is now, is it irritating or not? Okay, Zhu himself blushed for a moment, and he seemed too greedy. However, who is Zhu Ke? The skin is really thick after training. You guys are watching what I do. Should I teach you this way? Guys, it's picking up money now. Zhu Ke scolded with a smile. Everyone shook their heads and smiled bitterly. However, they are still in a good mood. In fact, as Zhu Ke said, the Japanese government gave up resistance and the yen market is now making money. It is simply picking up money. Pick up money, that's right. What is fighting now is between investment banks, who can pick up faster, $3 million, $9 million, $17 million, as of 9 a.m. on November 14th. After several days of picking up money struggles, Devon Capital has made great profits in just a few days. It made another $330 million in profit, coupled with a profit of more than $200 million in the yen market some time ago. In just 1 month, Zhu Ke squeezed more than $500 million from the little devil, of course, if you count the previous profits in Southeast Asian countries. Devon Capital has made a total of nearly $800 million in profit from the current financial crisis, $783.6 million. That's right, www.uxiaspit.com. This is how Zhu Ke got the record after fighting for a few months. Henry couldn't hide his excitement. Boss, our total profit in the foreign exchange, futures, and stock markets in Japan is definitely among the top 10 investment banks. Zhu Ke nodded and agreed. Limited by the amount of funds, Zhuke's income is naturally not as good as Soros's quantum fund and the 5 major investment banks. After all, the amount of funds they use is there. They can easily mobilize nearly tens of billions of dollars in funds. Is it comparable to the hundreds of millions of dollars invested by Zhu Ke? Even if Zhu Ke has the foresight of a traverser, even so, Zhu Ke's gain this time belongs to one of the most profitable investment banks under them. I'm exhausted these days, Zhu couldn't help but sighed. For the money, I didn't even attend the premiere of the new film The Sixth Sense of Supernatural, produced by Wald Pictures. Henry, boss, please be your own person. You have made so many dollars in a very short period of time. What else do you want? Of course. Henry wouldn't know how Zhu felt, dude. That was the second place box office runner-up in the original Space-Time in 99 years, and the global box office of Sixth Sense with a global box office of more than $600 million. After excluding the cost of theater dividends, film fund taxes, copying and manpower, the profit it brings to Zhu Ke at the box office is definitely not less than $200 million. If the follow-up offline market, peripheral market, etc. are added to the profit, then the final profit amount is also very likely to reach $300 million. Such a huge sum of money, how can Zhu despise it? The first update of Ascent. Chapter 138, The Sixth Sense of Supernatural exploded on the first day. At the afternoon of the same day, after a few more hours of operating in the yen and foreign exchange market, Zhu Ke explained a few words to Henry and got up and left the Devon Capital Investment Company. At present, the yen foreign exchange market is still profitable, but in the past few days, the 3 major Japanese markets are really being pressed too hard by national speculators, resulting in a period of time in the future, the profit of the yen foreign exchange market will become much smaller. Of course, it is very easy to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. However, hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit this day obviously cannot satisfy Zhu Ke's appetite. Not to mention Zhu Ke, who is making a lot of money. Even Soros and other economic predators are not satisfied with the current harvest. With the words of Hatafe, a financial expert who resigned and left Quantum Fund in 2001, this situation can be well reflected in an interview with NBC TV. Hatafe said, during that time, any investment bank on Wall Street was crazy and anxious. Crazy is because that is picking up money, anxiety is because waiting for your army to kill. When the time came, I was surprised to find that the money had been picked up by others first. Yes, many small and medium investment banking companies are very upset. Then what should we do? So, many people turned their eyes away from Japan and turned to its neighbor South Korea. It's okay for many investment companies not to investigate, but an investigation revealed that, Nima, it turns out that South Korea is a country even worse than Japan. Its deformed development model, in the eyes of many investment banks, is completely undefended beauty. There are leaks all over. South Korea, also calling itself the country of the universe, is not without reason. It is well known that in the 1950s and 1960s, South Korea was also a very ordinary backward country. Due to the influence of economic policies, plus the bonus advantages of a small land area and a large population, it quickly developed in recent years. Its financial market has also been extremely prosperous, almost on par with its neighbor Japan. But if you say that it has developed deformities and is full of leaks, that's absolutely for sure. Why? Generally speaking, for a country that is showing a good momentum of development, the ratio of its domestic credit market amount to GDP is 15%, but, in recent years in the Korean domestic credit market, The ratio of the total amount of credit to GDP in each year has been as high as 115% minus 200%. It is 9 to 13 times the ratio of the credit market in general Western countries. Not only that, in recent years, the abnormal development of Korean banks has made people feel horrified. The domestic capital market is immature and underdeveloped, causing many Korean companies to over-rely on indirect financing from commercial banks, and banks relying too much on the dominance and guarantees of the Korean government, leading to excessive expansion of bank credit in poor banks. The creditors' rights or bad debts are too large. For example, banks in South Korea and Thailand, their non-performing assets, bad debts, and bad debts account for 34% minus 40% of their domestic GDP. What is this concept? The U.S. subprime mortgage crisis in 2008 was fierce enough, right? But you have to know that even in the American subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, the non-performing assets, bad debts, and bad debts of banks accounted for the index of domestic GDP, but they did not exceed 25%. My lord, your country's financial market has developed abnormally to such an extent, if you are not cleaned up, God will not see it. Hey, therefore, a group of international speculators withdrew funds from Japan and quietly flocked to the Korean market. Everyone started to acquire the Korean won futures contract very tacitly. Zhu Ke Capital is no exception. Due to the battle in the Korean won foreign exchange market, it has not yet been opened on a large scale. As the boss, Zhu Ke decided to give himself a vacation and went to the cinema to watch a movie. Of course, I watched the new film The Sixth Sense of Supernatural produced by my company. What? You said that is Zucker's boss. Didn't you just watch the movie 2 months ago? You are right. Actually, Zhu didn't want to go to the cinema to watch movies, especially movies that he had watched several times. However, there was no way. Someone invited them extremely enthusiastically. At this time, Zhu was going to relax, so he nodded in agreement. Trio Cinema. It is a movie theater located in the center of New York City. It is a movie theater owned by Emperor Entertainment, one of the 3 major theater chains in the United States. It has a history of 20 years. It has been renovated and replaced many times. It is one of the favorite movie theaters of the people of New York. One hi, Zhu Ke, who just got out of the car, saw a little girl in a floral dress and greeted Zhu Ke enthusiastically. Hi, Scarlett. Wow, you are beautiful again. Zhu gave the little girl a hug. That's right, the person who asked Zhu to watch the movie was the young widow Scarlett Johansson. Zhu, the famous billionaire Mr. Wald. As a beautiful girl, I invite you to watch a movie. Are you happy? It's just so. Zhu Ke pouted his lips proudly. What? You dare to be dissatisfied? Scarlett pursed her mouth angrily, looking extremely cute. I have to say that the young widow, who is only 14 years old at the moment, who is less than 145 in height, is indeed full of vitality and cuteness, which makes people eye-catching. Zhu is not to blame, and he has no idea about Lori after all. Zhu likes girls with long legs. Widow sister. Hey, although his appearance is against the sky at his peak, his height, well, not to mention the height, it's not 1.6 meters of course. Zhu doesn't mind what happens to her when she grows up. But now, Zhu Ke dared to swear to the electric light that he really didn't have any thoughts. Get tickets, sit down, watch movies. Time flies quickly. A movie lasts less than 100 minutes, and then Zhu enthusiastically invites Scarlett to have a big meal. Okay, let's find out about Hamburg. Zhu, you are really stingy? This is what the young widow said to Zhu Ke during the parting. I was wronged. Zhu almost didn't vomit a mouthful of old blood. Yes, Zhu is a very stingy person, but he can't afford a meal. You know that Zhu has made a lot of money recently. www.wuxiaspit.com. Let alone a meal of several $100s or thousands of dollars. It is $100,000. Zhu also smiled slightly. It's a drop in the bucket, don't you think? But, fuck, I didn't really want to save money this time. Did I really forget to bring my wallet? As for the name of a miser again. Zhu Ke was also speechless. Scarlett Johansson returned home and found her agent was waiting for her at home. Scarlett, why did you come back so early? Where is Mr. Wald? The agent asked quickly. It's okay not to mention it, but Scarlett trembles suddenly. Kina, can you believe that a billionaire can forget to bring his wallet when a girl asks her out? Scarlett asked helplessly. Broker, Hollywood women, how can there be fuel-efficient lamps? Why did Scarlett ask Zhu to come out to watch the movie? Why did she know that Zhu Ke is in New York? Why did she even dress up? You really thought that Zhu Ke was a US dollar, and everyone would love it. Think too much, buddy. Zhu Ke's most attractive place. In addition to his identity as a billionaire, the most important thing is that he is the boss of a film company. The next day, 9 o'clock in the morning, Zhu Ke, who was sleeping in the hotel, received a call from Victor, CEO of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group. Boss, our Sixth Sense of Supernatural has hit the box office. The box office on the premiere day yesterday amounted to more than $36 million, ranking first in the box office list yesterday. The second update of Ascent. Chapter 139, regain the first weekend's box office champion. The Sixth Sense of Supernatural got off to a good start, with a box office of over $36 million on the first day. Don't you say that the number is not high? You know, the box office of Titanic in 1997 was only more than $28 million on its premiere day. Of course, Big Ship is not the kind of film that bursts out at the beginning, so it is not representative. However, looking at the entire North American film market in 1997, the box office of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural was more than $36 million on its premiere day, which was enough to rank in the top 5 of the year. Second only to Jurassic Park 2 with a box office of more than $72 million on the first day, Men in Black with a box office of more than $51 million on the first day, Batman and Robin with a box office of more than $42 million, and more than $37 million. Air Force One, well, quite a lot. The box office performance on the premiere day of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural happened to rank 5th on the premiere day of the annual box office rankings in North America in 1997, won the box office champion of the day. On November 14th, the movie that won the second place was The Jackal, which was released at the same time as The Sixth Sense of Supernatural. The film The Last Day of the Jackal, also known as Sniper Professional Killer, was produced and distributed by Universal Pictures. It happens to be the leading actor of the film, also starring Bruce Willis. The film won more than $15 million at the box office on its first day of release. For this morning Bruce Willis also personally called Zhu to express his gratitude. Mr. Wald, I really didn't expect that the first and second largest movies in the box office list yesterday were all movies starring me. Do you mean coincidence or coincidence? Zhu could clearly hear the excitement in Willis's tone. Yes, Mr. Wald, I'm really excited. Willis endured his excitement and said, you know, I mentioned to you before that although I am an action actor, I am really tired of being an action actor day in and day out. I'll look forward to being able to show it to the audience. To leave another impression, they can say, hey, look at it. Bruce Willis can also appear in other types of movies. I have to say that the box office performance of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural far exceeded Willis's expectations. The reason why he's willing to play the leading actor in The Sixth Sense of Supernatural is to seek transformation and to present the audience with a different one. As for the box office, haha, that was a complete surprise. Zhu immediately smiled and said, Willis, I dare not take credit for it. After all, you are also indispensable for the film's box office results. Then, Zhu and Willis talked for a while before hanging up. At this moment, Angelina Jolie also called. Wow, Zhu, you don't know how happy I am now. Angelina Jolie was on the phone, excitedly said, in the morning, I had just gone out to exercise. A bunch of reporters gathered around, and they were still chasing the interview. It's totally like not interviewing you today. The posture of giving up. Can Jolie not get excited? She is not the highest paid actress in Hollywood in the future, or Laura who will resound all over the world in the future. But she is just an ordinary actress now. It was the first time she experienced the situation that reporters were so sought after. In fact, even in the original time and space history, when Jolie won the 1999 Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in the movie The Girl of the Soul, she has never been so sought after by the media. One can imagine how popular The Sixth Sense of Supernatural is now in terms of theater chain. The film was also rated as A+. This is an extremely rare evaluation in horror thriller spiritual movies. The theater party contacted Wald Pictures for the first time and signed a release contracts before immediately increasing the number of screens. It didn't take long for Zhu to wash up and start eating. Bodyguard Zhao Wushuan took several newspapers and presented them in front of Zhu Ke. He sighed, boss, take a look. This is the New York State Entertainment News, this is the American East Coast News, and the California Entertainment News and so on. Sixth Sense a good newspaper, say good things. Hey, I have to say that as long as it is an individual, he likes to listen to good things. Not many people take the initiative to scold, even the cheeky Zhu. There is no exception. New York State Entertainment News published an article, The film The Sixth Sense of Supernatural, through the perspective of a little boy, presents the audience a warm, and beautiful movie about family and love. Yes, it is a horror thriller, however, whether it is the love between the male and female protagonists, or the affection between the little boy and the mother, it adds a lot of warmth to us in the horror environment. The New York State Entertainment News commented on the film, with a full 2,000 words, which is a very flattering interpretation of the film's optimism. Seeing this, Zhu couldn't help but curl his lips. Bodyguard Zhao Shuangfu said with great heart, "Boss, do you see it too? I remember that when you bought the investment share of Titanic a few months ago, it belonged to New York State Entertainment. The newspaper scolded the most ruthless guys who took the lead in making trouble. But now, they just praised you and our movies directly." Zhu nodded immediately. Haha, this is the ethics of the media. Do not, to be precise, they have no morals at all. As long as there's heat, they will never let it go. What, you said that your attitude is inconsistent, will you be laughed at? Think too much, buddy. It is ridiculous in itself that you tell the media. Do you know how much effort I put in for the box office of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural? Zhu Ke couldn't help but sigh when he sighed about the unscrupulous media and newspapers. Why, in order to maximize the promotion of Sixth Sense of Supernatural, Wald Pictures not only spent a large amount of publicity expenses, but also made the entire Golden Dawn Entertainment Group fully cooperate. Up TV advertisement. The popular singer Eminem, who sold on the album, personally sang the theme song of the film, ICQ's Pop Up advertisement. Wait, www.wooksyaspit.com. What other subway station advertisements are there, all of which show that Wald Pictures has worked hard to promote the film? Also, in order not to disperse publicity resources, CEO Victor even postponed the release time of the fan-based film, Fatal Turn 2, until next year. To put it bluntly, the first weekend's box office champion in Chapter 139 is still weak in Wald Pictures. Look at the 6 major Hollywood companies. They can release dozens of films produced by themselves and dozens of films produced by other companies a year. This is the strength of a large company. Zhu wanted to do the same, but he couldn't do it, so he had to sacrifice Fatal Corner 2 and move him to the theater next year. Facts have proved that the efforts of Zhu and Wald Pictures are successful. The box office score of more than $36 million on the premiere day surpassed the $27 million on the first day of the Human Cleanup Project and surpassed the first day of Juno by $19.50 million. The highest movie. There is no doubt that this is a huge breakthrough. It is the most important indicator that Wald Pictures is moving towards a second-tier Hollywood film company. Take a look. Even the media and newspapers in the United States are singing triumphs about The Sixth Sense of Supernatural at this moment. On Saturday, another $32 million was collected at the box office. On Sunday, another $25 million was cut at the box office. Within 3 days of the first weekend, the movie The Sixth Sense of Supernatural won a total of $93 million at the box office, successfully winning the first weekend North American box office champion. The first update of is sent. The author asks for support every day. Chapter 140, outstanding? Then buy it. Universal Pictures Group. What? Our new film failed to win the weekend's box office championship. The Sixth Sense of Supernatural. The 3-day box office totaled more than $93 million in the first weekend. Eric Langella, chairman of the board of directors, this skinny old man frowned when he looked at the report in his hand. Raymond, what is the origin of this Wald Pictures? It can beat the Jack Calhoun produced by Universal Pictures and win the weekend's box office championship. Eric Langella, chairman of the board of directors, asked, is it a subsidiary of Columbia or a subsidiary of Disney? Hearing this, Raymond Chevelain, president of Universal Pictures, immediately shook his head. Neither. Oh, the little old man. Eric became interested in an instant. It's not a subsidiary of the Big Six. Please tell me carefully. At this moment, Eric is indeed interested. A film company independent of the Big Six can win the weekend's box office championship, and it is still stepping on its own global position. As a senior capitalist, Eric, how can he not be curious? His interest stems from interest. His current idea is to ask if he can buy it. Raymond Chevelain, president of Universal Pictures, understands. He solemnly said, boss, the producer of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural is called Wald Pictures. It was established at the end of 1995 and its predecessor was Hughes Pictures. After the acquisition of Hughes Pictures, the owner of the company, Zhu Ke Wald, he was an extremely young youth. He was only 18 years old. Soon after the acquisition was completed, he personally served as a screenwriter, director, completed Wald Pictures' first theatrical movie Lola Run. After the film was released in North America, it earned nearly $14 million at the box office. The production cost is said to be less than $1 million, which is a typical case of Zaya Aboda. Of course, the most important thing is that Paramount bought the overseas release rights and copyright of the film for only a few $1,000,000. In just a few months, the European market alone has made hundreds of millions of dollars. At the box office, The Voice fell, and it was the little old man Eric, who also showed a hint of shock, take a small bogey. Achieving hundreds of millions of dollars in overseas achievements is not just a typical case of Zaya Aboda. It is not. So what is it? For a moment, Eric really almost couldn't help but force Raymond, "Why didn't you buy it in the first place?" Of course, Eric didn't say this because the past is naturally the past. There is no point in asking these questions now. Well, I will only appear stupid. What about afterwards? The talents of big companies are not omnipotent. It is normal to miss some profitable films every year. However, the little old man Eric is still a little distressed about missing hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office later. At this moment, Raymond Ling, the president of Universal Pictures, also appeared shocked, and said in a deep voice, "Later, Wald Pictures has successively launched Fruit Hard Candy's and Fatal 3 films, Turned Road and Junia." The box office of Fruit Hard Candy is not high, but it has a good reputation, and it has gained a lot in the offline market. Fatal Corner won a box office of more than $32 million in North America, and an overseas box office of nearly $40 million, and the initial production cost was only $1 million, which is another case of small gains. The most powerful movie is the Junia movie. The movie earned more than $63 million in the box office in the first 3 days of its release, and its global box office totaled more than $200 million. Fuck, Eric, the little old man, was immediately bounced from his seat in shock. It stands to reason that these box office figures have doubled, and Eric, who has seen many big scenes, will not be so shocked. However, the speed of the rise of Wald Pictures is really horrifying. Wald Pictures, which was established in just 1 year, has successively released 2 films with a global box office of over $100 million. Is this why others are not shocked? Looking at the major Hollywood studios, no one can rise so quickly. In the following period, Raymond, president of Universal Pictures, gave a detailed introduction of Wald Pictures' actions, afterwards acquired Up TV Network and launched the popular variety show America's Got Talent, established Waterworld Animation Studio and produced SpongeBob SquarePants, an animated series that swept the United States, owns the largest surrounding chain store in downtown Los Angeles, SpongeBob House, merged several subsidiaries to establish a small media group, Golden Shugwang Entertainment Group, Jin Shugwang Music. In the near future, has released a new album of its contracted artist Eminem, with sales exceeding 30 million copies. Moreover, Wald Pictures has a comprehensive distribution network that can cover the entire United States. All kinds of deeds shocked the little old man Eric again and again. Buy him, he must be acquired. Little old man Eric had blushing eyes, and he almost roared in a roaring tone. This is such an excellent film company, it must have a great parent company, and Universal Pictures must not miss it. Boss, we tried, but Zhu Ke Wald rejected it. Raymond shook his head and smiled bitterly. Refuse? Humph, little old man Eric coldly snorted, dare to refuse? Does it not know the greatness and strength of Universal Pictures? The implication is obvious. Do you dare to refuse? That's good. Don't blame me for suppressing you. In terms of media public opinion, theatrical lines, film arrangement, the Film Review Rating Committee's rating of movies, and so on, we will give you a full blow. Next work, is not it? This is just a normal business method. Well, at least they understand it so well for large companies, boss. Wald Pictures and Paramount, there are many cooperations, Universal Pictures president Raymond reminded. The little old man Eric was momentarily dumb. In other words, Paramount is supporting Wald Pictures. So in this way, in terms of the theater lineup, the Film Review and Rating Committee under the control of the 6 major Hollywood movies, it is not so easy to get stuck in the film rating of Wald Pictures, especially the review board. The Film Review Rating Committee, as the name suggests, is the organization that gives the corresponding ratings to the films produced by the major North American film companies, that is, the G level, popular level, PG level, general level, PG-13 level, and PG-13 level that you see daily. R grade, NC-17 grade, Review Film Rating Committee. Affiliated to the American Film Association, is a non-governmental organization, but because of its long history and the 6 major influences of Hollywood, it almost determines the rating of a film. Mandatory stipulates that the audience who can watch the film www.wooksyaspit.com is mainly in terms of age. At the same time, it is also a symbol of Hollywood's 6 powers and unmatched status. Are you against the big 6? That's good. As long as you get stuck in the rating, you can lose a lot. But now, because Wald Pictures is backed by Paramount, it is not so easy for Universal Pictures to take a look at Wald Pictures on the review board. Well, then we will use the price of real money to officially buy it. The little old man Eric is not a master who can't afford to let go. He immediately said, "Raymond, you go and talk to them. How much money can be completed?" He, a young man who is less than 20 years old, heard about our acquisition. It must have agreed. How much does it cost to buy? Suddenly, Raymond shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Boss, don't think Zhu Ke Wald is very young, but he really doesn't lack money." Raymond smiled bitterly. In addition to being the boss of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group, he also owns 2% of Yahoo stocks, 12% of ICQ stocks, and 8% of Amazon stocks. The stocks of these 3 companies alone are worth more than $600 million US dollars. Also, Zhu Ke Wald has California Standard Bank, LinkedIn, and a series of investments in hand. So what? Of course it's Zhu Ke Wald. There is no shortage of money at all. Eric, the little old man, lost his soul for a long time before exclaiming, "Are young people so great now?" Zhu would not know that it is precisely because of his own excellence that Eric, the little old man, feels that he is old, and that there will be a future acquisition of Universal Pictures by the French Vivendi Group. Chapter 141, Where's this sand sculpture? November 17, 9 a.m. Wald Pictures. As the head of Paramount's overseas distribution department, Jordan is also the contact person between Paramount and Wald. After learning about the box office results of the first weekend of Sixth Sense of Supernatural, he naturally rushed to Wald as soon as possible. Pictures. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Kevin. Yes, the person in charge of receiving Jordan is Kevin Fitch, the vice president of Wald Pictures. As for CEO Victor, he is busy with the announcement of the movie. Where is there time to greet him? Furthermore, Victor is currently the CEO of Wald Pictures and the CEO of the parent company Golden Dawn Entertainment. There are a lot of big and small things. Of course, this kind of thing is left to Kevin Fitch to handle it. Kevin, I think I came here, you should be clear. Yes, I am here for the overseas release of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural. When Jordan was speaking, he was actually filled with emotion. Once upon a time, when Jordan first came into contact with Wald Pictures, he came with the kindness of a big company, and the person who met was Zhu Ke himself. Several subsequent collaborations, even if Zhu Ke was not in charge, Victor was in charge. But now, Wald Pictures has really grown a lot, has distribution networks in all major states in the United States, making Wald Pictures half a foot and stepping into the ranks of Hollywood's second-tier film companies. Once the distribution network covering Canada and Mexico is completed, which means that it has a complete distribution network in North America, Wald Pictures will surely be the leader among Hollywood's second-tier film companies. Not only that, as the parent company, Golden Dawn Entertainment Group has subsidiaries in television, animation, music, internet companies, and peripheral chain stores. Is the embryonic form of a media empire in this regard, among the top 6 in Hollywood, except for a few top second-tier film companies such as DreamWorks and Touchstone. Wald Pictures is already one of the strongest under them. The most important thing is Zhu Ke himself and Wald Pictures, in Jordan's eyes. They have come to today step by step. There are talents from generation to generation. Because of this, Jordan's site is rising too fast. Jordan, our Sixth Sense of Supernatural has only been released for 3 days. Are you so anxious? Kevin Fitch laughed. Hearing this, Jordan laughed and said, "Kevin, can I not be in a hurry? After all, your company's Supernatural Sixth Sense won the weekend's box office championship. Looking at the major Hollywood companies, it is almost no one." "Zio, you said, should I be anxious?" After finishing speaking, he added, "Don't forget, we Paramount and Wald Pictures, but we still have overseas distribution contracts for a few films. Get it done 1 day earlier, and release it overseas 1 day earlier. Paramount will be able to earn the wealth of overseas countries faster. This is all achievements." "You said, can Paramount be in a hurry?" "Jordan, it's okay if you don't say it. When talking about a contract, I think of our company's upper movie human removal project. It seems that your company has not made a profit and has not been included in our company's accounts," Kevin Fitch said. "In a hurry, Jordan? Haha, Jordan looked a little embarrassed at this moment. In fact, as Kevin Fitch said, the first share of the overseas box office profits of the Human Elimination Project should have been credited to the Wald Pictures account long ago, but there is still no sign of movement. To this end, the company's finance has repeatedly approached Paramount to ask for it, but they have been prevaricated by them. Kevin Fitch said again, "You Paramount are not kind." Jordan calmly said, "Don't worry, when I return to the company, I will help you." Kevin shook his head and said, "The first overseas box office share of Human Elimination Project has been accounted for. We are talking about the overseas announcement and release of The Sixth Sense of Supernatural, and that's all set." Jordan suddenly became speechless, and he repeatedly cursed his own company's financial department in his heart. "I'm here to try my best to generate revenue for the company. You guys are actually dragging their feet. In fact, this is the usual urine of big companies. The box office share owed to other companies is a consistent method of large companies. It will block your capital flow and let you know who is the boss. Shameless. Haha, big companies do this. Even if it is a lawsuit, relying on their strong team of lawyers to delay you for a few years is not easy." Any one of the 6 major Hollywood companies, every year, due to arrears in the box office share of the movie, there are at least a dozen cases of court cases. What? You said big companies are shameless. That's right, they value practical benefits more than the face. Paramount left on behalf of Jordan. It didn't take long, that is, a few hours. During this period of time, representatives from 3 companies came to Wald Pictures. 2 of these companies are Wall Street investment banks. They want to invest in Wald Pictures and buy some shares for the employers behind them. Of course, there is also a film company from Denmark. His attitude is extremely arrogant. "You are the person in charge of Wald Pictures." Hurry up and call your boss. Just say that the representative of the Danish Wikiloc company is here. What's the matter? Of course it is to negotiate the acquisition of your company. Don't worry, we, Wikiloc, are a big company, and the bid is definitely not low. Feel the love of God. Small film companies like yours, Wald Pictures, can be favored by our Wikiloc company. It is definitely a blessing for you to cultivate in a few lifetimes." The man is a middle-aged man with a mustache. He babbles non-stop with an arrogant attitude. The posture is extremely arrogant. Fuck, I have seen arrogant people. I have never seen such a sand sculpture. Kevin Fitch held back his anger at www.wooksiaspit.com and said, "Then you tell me how much money is, so I can tell our boss, don't you?" The middle-aged mustache said with satisfaction, "I am optimistic about you. We, Wikiloc, are a big company. This time we will buy you all with a bid of $10 million US. In an instant, not only Kevin Fitch almost vomited blood, but the people around Wald Pictures also directly laughed. $10 million US to buy Wald Pictures. You drank too much. I said, "Buddy, have you investigated the situation of our company?" Kevin asked with a strong smile. "Of course," the mustache said loudly, "your company is just a small film company. $10 million US is definitely enough. If your boss hears it, you will be ecstatic." Investigation. You are investigating a ghost. Where's the sand sculpture from Nima? Soon Zhu Ke, who is on Wall Street, learned this information from the phone. Zhu Ke also laughed on the spot. I have to say that although Zhu Ke has encountered many sand sculptures, he is still willing to call this person the strongest sand sculpture at this moment. Where's this funny? The money I made from a movie is several $10 million US. How did this sand sculpture investigate? And where did the courage come from to say to buy my film company? Zhu Ke had his stomach ache with a real smile. Boss, the speed of the devaluation of the Korean won is beyond our imagination. In just a few hours, we have made a profit of $11 million US. Henry of Daffin Capital said excitedly. Suddenly, Zhu Ke's expression condensed. Chapter 142, Dismember Korea. As of November 17, 4 p.m., the devaluation of the Korean won reached its highest peak in history. The exchange rate of the Korean won to the US dollar fell to a record 1,008.1, which means that 1,008 can be exchanged for $1 US on this day. Whether it is Zhu Scale Capital or a group of international speculators who short the Korean won, they all ate their fills. Zhu Scale Capital earned more than $10 million US, not to mention it. Merrill Lynch, one of the 5 largest investment banks on Wall Street, is the most powerful one today. Boss, according to reliable sources, Merrill Lynch sold the Korean won futures contracts worth $9 billion US in just a few hours today, directly smashing the Korean won foreign exchange market. Henry said solemnly. In an instant, Zhu Ke gasped. In a few hours, shorting the $9 billion Korean won futures contract, Merrill Lynch is definitely a plan for a long time, Zhu Ke said solemnly. South Korea's foreign exchange reserves, according to intelligence, are less than $7 billion, which means that the South Korean government has no resistance at all. Henry Jojenberg also nodded in terms of foreign exchange reserves. The Korean stick really can't keep up with the Japanese kids, the private capital of the little devil, and the government can provide at least $200 billion in foreign exchange reserves, which can be resisted for a while. However, there is only a modest $7 billion on the stick, which is completely impossible for even a trace of struggle. No, many international speculators haven't made any moves yet, and only one Merrill Lynch Securities has directly brought down the Korean foreign exchange market. District sticks, nothing to worry about. At the same time, the South Korean government convened an emergency meeting at the Blue House. What about the money? A congressman directly sprayed at an official of the Ministry of Finance and Economics. We, the Republic of Korea, don't even have $7 billion in foreign exchange reserves. What will happen next? Take the lead. Before the words came to an end, a group of other congressmen also fired at the Ministry of Finance and relevant government units. Even the president, they were not polite in scolding them. The chief officials of the Ministry of Finance must take the blame and resign. Yes, they have to take the main responsibility for this financial crisis. Everyone, Samsung, Daewoo, CJ Group and other large chaebols are all waiting for the government's financial support. After all, once they fall, then our financial market will be completely finished. Very noisy sounds, one after another. The noise constantly reverberated in the conference room. Every weekdays, the neatly dressed counselors and the high-ranking officials are still half elegant at the moment, especially when it comes to the major jebel groups. It directly makes some people's expressions move. Korean politics, from another level, is also called chaebolism. From the moment you were born, the hospital's medical care, housing, car, work, insurance, bank, clothing, drinks, cemetery, and even a small piece of toilet paper, all have the figure of a chaebol. Many members of parliament in Korea are spokespersons for chaebols. The spokespersons of these chaebols have a very clear purpose at today's meeting, that is, to allow the government to support the chaebol groups as much as possible. What? You said that all the money is given to the chaebol companies, so does the life and death of small and medium-sized companies leave it alone? In fact, the South Korean government itself is also a mudboat, a silva crossing the river, and it cannot protect itself. After the meeting, the South Korean press spokesperson made the very famous Loss 3 Guarantees 7 remarks on the TV station. For the first time, lose 30% of the workers' jobs and keep 70% of them employed. The consequences of this remark can be imagined. Many companies have closed down one after another, triggering a wave of unemployment. Many Koreans have questioned the measures taken by the government. As for Zhu Capital and a group of international speculators, how can I care about you, began to short the Korean won one after another from the 18th to the 20th. For 3 consecutive days, the Korean won foreign exchange market showed a continuous decline, with no signs of recovery at all. There are countless small and medium-sized enterprises in South Korea that have closed down. Without mentioning this, the major chaebol giants alone have suffered heavy losses. The most serious one is the Daewoo Group. As the second largest company in Korea, it is of course huge. Its business scope includes foreign trade, shipbuilding, heavy equipment, automobiles, electronics, communications, construction, chemicals, finance, etc. There are 29 series of companies, more than 30 foreign branches, and 260,000 employees. Before the crisis broke out, it was unparalleled. However, South Korea's financial crisis broke out. In just the past few days, the high debt ratio of Daewoo Group has caused a massive debt burden, and the decrease in profit has caused the stock price to fall. Despite a series of reduction measures, the Daewoo Group is still unable to recover, and the myth of Malaysia is not dead is finally shattered. How is it possible? We are a world power, how can we be so vulnerable? Fake, everything is fake. I also think this is fake. Our government and chaebol groups must have been caught off guard. When they get over it, the investment banks on Wall Street will be a fart. We are a big universe country, the most powerful country in Asia. One by one, unemployed Korean citizens took to the streets and kept shouting they believe that the government would solve the problem. Gale Capital Zhu was in the office, watching a piece of TV news from South Korea, and couldn't help but feel amused. Still believe it, your government and chaebol are not thinking about saving you at all, but about how to reduce their own losses. Zhu Ke sniffed. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Zhu Ke to see another piece of news. An executive from South Korea's Ministry of Finance immediately announced, We are unable to restore the economic downturn and have decided to seek assistance from the International Monetary Fund. One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. As soon as the news came out, there was an uproar in Korea. The people who believed that their country is a world power 1 second ago were completely dumbfounded. At this moment the dream of a great universe is broken. Of course, there are still a large number of people ecstatic. It's great. With the assistance of the International Monetary Fund, we will surely be able to weather the storm. For this remark, Zhu Ke is full of disdain. International Monetary Fund, you should be a charity, said unceremoniously. Behind the International Monetary Fund is the United States. It is a wolf that hunts everywhere. It is a completely murderous existence, and cannibalism without salt. A few days later, the International Monetary Fund and the South Korean government signed a rescue package. Main content: the International Monetary Fund has provided loans worth $57 billion to the South Korean government. Wow, it looks very generous. I guess there are a lot of additional conditions. Zhu Ke looked at the news and laughed in his heart. In fact, Zhu got it right. Several additional conditions put forward by the International Monetary Fund are completely cutting South Korea's flesh and dismembering their domestic financial order. 1. Require the Korean government to immediately close down those commercial banks that have inextricably linked with the chaebol. You should know that in the previous decades, Korea has never closed any commercial bank. Once these commercial banks that are closely connected with the chaebols are closed, it means that the chaebol's right to borrow from some banks will be cut off, and it will inevitably be against the chaebols. Enterprises cause shocks too. Require South Korea to raise interest rates to 30%. On the face of it, it is possible to attract foreign funds into South Korea more, but the enforcement of high interest rates will inevitably send many chaebols and companies into bankruptcy. 3. To foreign investors, fully open the financial market. I have to say that this is the most ruthless and poisonous clause among dozens of clauses. This means that foreign capital can achieve full control of Korean domestic banks and directly control the Korean financial market. Reading www.uucanchu.com will completely turn it into an undefended battlefield against a large number of international speculators. The purpose of the United States is obvious, that is, to dismember South Korea and further turn it into its own back garden boss. The opportunity is here. Where's the aid of the International Monetary Fund so easy to get? As a result of South Korea receiving aid, although it can stabilize the financial market, the chaebol giants in South Korea are about to die. Well, even if they don't go bankrupt, they will definitely lose half of them. Han used an excited tone to show Zhu Ke step by step his professionalism. Zhu certainly believes in his judgment, and of course the foresight of the traverser is also indispensable. The International Monetary Fund took action to temporarily control the crisis, but those big chaebols suffered huge losses and were dismembered by Wall Street and investment institutions all over the world. Daewoo Group, the second largest wealth in South Korea, was almost dismembered and declared bankrupt, losing 80% of its assets. The investment banks that have profited from it have made millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars in this period of time. South Korea's domestic resources, finance, valuable projects, etc., have been robbed by many large investment banks. Zhu Ke, who is more ambitious, made a profit of more than $700 million in the Korean market in a short period of time. The amount of profit should exceed the harvest in Japan. He, pack up the sticks, I just feel cool and enjoyable. Zhu is here at this moment, calling it cool. The second update of was sent. The financial crisis will actually last for a long time, but the minister basically wrote here, and then I will return to the movie side. Finally, please support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Strengthen the Industrial Structure. The next day Zhu Ke, who had a rest for a night, came to Defin Capital Company again, and with the help of the professional accounting team, he counted the recent gains more accurately. The first stage, from early July to mid-August, Defin Capital aims to focus on Southeast Asian markets such as Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and the Philippines, for a period of 45 days, with a cumulative harvest of $260 million. Second stage, Without Zhuke's intervention, the Gale Capital team headed by Henry started operations with $20 million and once again made a profit of $19.8 million in Southeast Asian markets before mid-October, the third phase, beginning on October 15, following the speculators of the same country to short the yen. In less than a month, it broke the yen foreign exchange market, stock market, and futures, making a profit of $500 million in one fell swoop. Fourth stage, in mid-November, he began to conquer the Korean market. In just a dozen days, he gained another $700 million. Also said that since the outbreak of the Asian financial crisis in early July to the beginning of December, Devon Capital has made a total of $1.48 billion in profits. This amount of profit is undoubtedly very huge. Looking at the ranks of international speculators, Devon Capital's harvest is enough to rank in the top 50. That's right, only the top 50. Zhuke is a traverser, and he also has the advantage of the foresight of the financial crisis, but the amount of funds owned by Devon Capital is completely unable to compare with the Quantum Fund and the 5 major investment banks that can easily mobilize billions and tens of billions of dollars without input. How can there be output? The amount of funds you use, if the amount of funds you use is far less than others, the gain will naturally be much lower. Moreover, what is the existence of Quantum Fund and the 5 major investment banks? They have the most complete information channels in the world and countless senior financial talents to serve them, not to mention that they have a strong political background. Who is behind the 5 major investment banks and quantum funds? Behind them is the Federal Reserve, which has the largest gold reserves in the world. It is the maker of the world financial order. This is like a football game. The organizer is the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund is the referee. The 5 major Wall Street investment banks are Barcelona, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich and other giants, while Southeast Asian countries are the youth teams of the Super League clubs. Your own strength is not as good as others, plus the organizer and the referee are on the side of others. How do you play? Therefore, in many Asian countries, before the outbreak of the financial crisis, their wealth looted by Western countries is already doomed. The silver crisis in Europe in the 1970s, the oil crisis in the Middle East in the 1980s, the U.S. Japan Plaza Agreement in the early 1980s, the financial crisis in Chile in 1992, the financial collapse in Mexico in 1994, the Asian financial crisis in 1997, and the global crisis in 2008, the loan crisis, the euro collapse crisis 12 years later, the global foreign trade revenue increase agreement 17 years later. Financial crises of this kind abounded is the major investment banks and international speculators on Wall Street who are frantically plundering the wealth of various countries. But if you think about it in depth, this is completely the bone marrow and blood of many countries being squeezed by Western powers. Have no idea, even the rules of the game and the financial order are made by them. What are you going to do head to head? Beautiful. Zhuke looked at the financial statements in his hand and said that he was in a pretty good mood. Total profit of $1.48 billion, except for the dividends and bonuses that Henry and the traders should have. I can still get $1.45 billion. It is simply pretty good. However, after thinking about it, Zhuke was a little anxious again. This huge sum of money is currently still in the overseas account, but once the money is returned to the United States, it will have to pay a considerable amount of tax, 35%. Yes, according to the relevant provisions of the American Foreign Taxation Act that came into effect in 1995, the profits of American citizens' overseas companies do not need to pay tax, but once the funds return to the United States, they will face taxation. This is double taxation, and it's 35%. In other words, if Zhuke transfers all $1.45 billion back to the United States, he will have to pay $500 million in taxes. Nima is too dark. In the face of the strong taxation department of the United States, you want to escape. That is simply wishful thinking. Should this fund be returned to the United States? For a while, Zhuke began to think deeply. If Zhuke intends to engage in the financial industry for a long time, he must learn from the major investment banks on Wall Street. This money cannot be easily transferred back to the United States, but, compared with the gains in the overseas financial markets in the next few years, Zhuke coveted the domestic internet in the United States in the late 1990s. You must know that in the next few years, even in 2020, the profit ratio of the internet will still be much higher than that of the traditional industry, and even the hugely profitable financial industry cannot be compared with it. In fact, Zhu Ke personally still tends to transfer his funds back to the United States. Even if he pays high taxes, it is completely feasible. After all, the profitability and market value of the internet are rising, which is really eye-catching. It has been decided to transfer the funds back to the United States, but it is certainly not all. As for the amount of funds transferred back, I still have to think about it. Zhu Ke thought for a while and couldn't help laughing. In fact, in 1997, it was still a relatively lucky era. After 2003, the U.S. Internal Revenue Service further strengthened the Bank Secrecy Act and added the principles for reporting overseas accounts of U.S. citizens and companies. That is, even if your funds are in overseas banks, even if you do not make any profits within a year, you must pay taxes in accordance with relevant laws. Well, the kind of enforcement according to a set of data released by the U.S. Internal Revenue Service in 2010, the use of overseas accounts for tax evasion every year causes the United States to lose approximately $150 billion in annual tax revenue, of which 40 to 70 billion are personal tax evasion and 60 to 80 billion are corporate tax evasion. However, you have Zhang Liangji, I have a wall ladder. In the future, American internet giants such as Microsoft, Amazon, and Google will simply take tax payment and reasonable tax avoidance to new heights. They earn tens of billions of dollars each year, and their tax payments are only a mere tens of millions of dollars. What's more, Amazon, for example, shows losses on its books every year. I have to say that Zhu Ke really admires the shamelessness of these big companies. When Zhu Ke decided to transfer some of his funds back to the United States, he also began to plan to find some professional financial companies and lawyers to design tax avoidance plans and pay as little tax as possible. Within a few days, www.wuxiaspit.com, a professional financial company and a team of lawyers gave a series of tax avoidance plans. Mr. Wald, we are currently able to ensure that your tax payable is 35% lowered to 25%, 30%. However, to be more specific, we still need to work with a lawyer team to make further simulation statistics on the relevant tax laws of each state. The representative of the finance company said Zhu nodded. Tax avoidance is not something that can be done in 1 or 2 days. Zhu Ke is already mentally prepared. If you don't engage in tax avoidance, Zhu Ke will have to pay a large amount of tax. He who has always been stingy will definitely feel distressed after the money is in place. I can further adjust the industrial structure under my name. Zhu Ke had already started planning. A media empire requires not only movies, TV, music, animation, and peripheral chain stores, but also traditional paper media, games, sports, books, and other industries to further optimize the industrial structure and enhance the ability to resist risks in a crisis. Although Harry Potter is an excellent book series, the reason why it has such a huge influence on a global scale is absolutely indispensable for its promotion and publicity, and it even plays an absolute role, books, in this area. I should probably buy a certain influential publishing house, or take a stake in Random House. Well, there is also Apple. It has been almost a year since Jobs has returned to Apple, and he can start planning its shares. For a time, Zhu Ke thought a lot the first update of his sent. Thanks to the book friend delicious little fund for rewarding 1,000 coins. A book friend asked the minister, when will the book be on the shelves? Ask me? The minister himself doesn't know. He has not received the notice from the editor. Chapter 144, Golden Shuguang Group Year-End Meeting. December 3, 1997, Jin Shuguang Entertainment Group Headquarters. Today, Zhu Ke will personally attend and preside over the first executive meeting of Jin Shuguang Entertainment Group at the end of 1997. CEO of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group, Victor Jones, Group Chief Financial Officer, Sister Martha, President of Upton Television Network, Ms. Donna, Upton Television Network Channel Operations Director, Alexander Povich Sanali Sergi, Wald Pictures Vice President, Kevin Fitch, President of Water World Animation Studio, Steven Solenberg, Vice President and Chief Screenwriter of Water World Animation Studio, David Messer, President of Chain Stores Around SpongeBob SquarePants House, James Shawn, Director of Jin Shuguang Music Production Company, Domino. Wait, a total of 15 people attended this year-end executive meeting of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group. Zhu Ke, as the boss of the group company, naturally sits in the top position as his own. Everyone, before the official opening of this year-end meeting, I will announce a few company personnel adjustment orders. Hearing this, everyone present was shocked. They never expected that Zhu Ke would play such a big game from the beginning. Personnel adjustment, this is related to promotion and salary increase, company status, etc. Can you say that Donna and others can't pay attention to it? Well, Victor alone is relatively calm, because he had communicated with Zhu Ke before. First of all, Ms. Donna Langley, president of UP Television Network, was promoted to the position of senior vice president of Jinchuguang Group headquarters and concurrently held the post of president of UP Television Network. Zhu Ke solemnly said. The voice fell, and everyone was taken aback. Sister Martha was shocked and murmured, "My God, that is to say, Ms. Donna will be the third person in the group from now on. It is second only to Mr. Wald and Mr. Jones, but the people present are not ordinary people, all of them are shrewd guys." They reacted in a short time and immediately began to applaud. "Congratulations, Ms. Donna, we will have to cooperate a lot in the future." CEO Victor was the first to congratulate. "Thank you." Donna Langley was undoubtedly very excited at this moment. Why? Because she is a female, looking at the major Hollywood studios, whether it is the big six or the small companies at the bottom that can only distribute offline movies. The senior staff in their companies are basically occupied by men. What? You said that Shirley Lansing, the president of Paramount, and Amy Pascal, the president of Sony Columbia, are not women, and they serve as the presidents of the sixth major Hollywood? Haha, this is just an example. Looking at the major Hollywood studios, the number of women who can occupy the top of the company is less than 1/5 of the number of men, and the salary is often only 1/5 of the male top of the same level. Sex discrimination has always existed in Hollywood. Thank you, Mr. Wald, for your kindness. I, Donna Langley, will surely live up to the heavy responsibilities and grind forward in my future work. Donna Langley immediately expressed loyalty to Zhu Ke. After all, she knew whose job she was carrying. "Don't thank you. This is what you deserve. It is your performance that touched me." Zhu Ke is quite satisfied with Ms. Donna's work performance on UP TV Network. For more than a year since Donna took up the post of president of UP TV Network, she has undertaken the broadcasting of SpongeBob SquarePants and American Got Talent, and has initiated drastic reforms on UP TV Network, abolishing mediocre senior management and employees. Up to 78 people, recruiting up to 285 elites, reorganized the children's channel, variety show channel, film and television channel and other departments to further optimize the platform structure. After more than a year, even after excluding the two ace shows of SpongeBob SquarePants and America's Got Talent, UP still has a good influence in the major pay-limited TV fields in the United States. It is enough to rank in the top 10. First 10, don't underestimate this ranking. In front of it are HBO, HTIC and other TV networks with a background of media giants. The UP TV network can make such great progress. Although Zhuke's opening factor is included, there is no such excellent steer as Ms. Donna, and there will definitely not be today's excellent level. You must know that in the original time and space, Donna Langley has served as director of the distribution department, director of the production department, group vice president, and group president of Universal Pictures. Especially after she assumed the position of president of Universal Pictures, she brought the ever-increasing Universal Pictures industry back to glory, achieving high profits for 4 consecutive years. Her ability is obvious to all. Ahem, it's time to start announcing the second appointment. Zhu glanced at the people and said loudly, "The second personnel appointment, Alexander Povich Sanily Sergey, the director of UP TV Network Channel Operations." "Well, Alexander, your name is really long enough," mentioned Alexander, and his expression immediately condensed. He never thought that the company's second personnel appointment was actually related to him. "Can you not be nervous, Alexander? Don't be nervous. Congratulations. From now on, you will be transferred from the UP TV network and take the post of director of the chairman's office, which is the post of chief assistant to Zhu Ke Wald himself." Zhu Ke laughed. Boom. As a Russian-born Alexander, he immediately bounced off his seat with excitement. "Thank you, boss." Alexander was so excited at the moment, which was in stark contrast to his calm in the past. At the same time, many of the executives present couldn't help but cast envious eyes on Alexander. "He is so lucky. I also want to be the chief assistant to the chairman," an executive whispered to the person next to him. www.uxiaspit.com from the ranks of related positions within the Jinchuguang Entertainment Group. The position of the director of the channel department of the UP TV network and the position of the director of the chairman's office are equal, but both cannot be the same. A magistrate equivalent to ancient times, one is a Beijing official and a close minister of the emperor. The difference is simply a world of difference. Come on and continue to perform in the future. Zhu looked at Alexander and encouraged, "I believe you will exert more energy in this position." This appointment was definitely not made by Zhu Ke arbitrarily, but a decision made after careful consideration as the Golden Dawn Entertainment Group develops and grows step by step. It will open up new paths in sports, traditional paper media, games, books and other fields in the future. Zhu Ke is just a person, not a god, and lacks energy. At this time, there is an excellent assistant team, and it is bound to be able to play a huge role. Alexander came from a prestigious university, has an excellent work experience, and his personal ability is very outstanding. Wouldn't it be nice to let him serve as his chief assistant? Ms. Donna and Alexander, 2 consecutive appointments, directly pushed the atmosphere of the scene to a climax. Everyone present began to move around, and they were also looking forward to whether there would be a promotion or salary increase for themselves. Zhu Ke and Victor smiled at each other immediately. Personnel appointments, what is this? If I tell you directly that the company will start the option dividend and option reward policy in the coming year, will you faint happily? The second update of is sent thanks to the book Friends of Delicious Little Fun for their rewards, and to the book Friends of Ki Wumo for their rewards. Chapter 145, Start to expand the territory. The third appointment. James Shawn, the former president of the chain stores around SpongeBob SquarePants House, will step down as the president from now on and be appointed as the head of the chain stores around SpongeBob SquarePants House. As for the post of president, Taro Hashimoto will take over. As Zhu Ke's voice fell, everyone present was taken aback. James Shawn, who is he? He is an old man and a good brother of his own boss. He is an absolute family and a close associate of Zhu Ke. He has now been demoted. Can you say that the big guys here are not surprised? Actually, they didn't know that James himself proposed to Zhu Ke on this matter, and it was repeated many times. It is precisely because he is Zhu Ke's veteran that he does not want to be in a high position because of poor ability and let others gossiping about Zhu Ke's. Zhu Ke understands him, but he doesn't want to put too much pressure on him. Stephen frowned, looked at Messer next to him, and whispered, David, I didn't think the boss even took James down. Messer nodded and whispered, the mediocre is down, the capable person is up. It can be seen that the boss is not a nepotism, but at the same time, we must also pay attention in the future. Sister Martha, Ms. Donna, and others, their expressions were shocked. All the people present here have extremely rich experience in the workplace, and they are all extremely savvy people. They see that Zhu Ke is killing chickens and monkeys. Even good brothers from my own family can take out a flag to offer sacrifices, so how about you? Actually, they guessed pretty well. Zhu Ke did not inform them that James offered to step down as the president of the surrounding chain stores, which was telling them that in the future they should not lie down on their merits, otherwise they would be punished or even dismissed. What if you are a veteran of the company? What about your many contributions to the company? I just want to tell you clearly that if you don't advance, you will retreat. As long as you slack off and are not qualified for the current position, then waiting for your ending will be painful. Zhu Ke's heart moved fair. If a company wants to ensure its vitality and the driving force for sustainable development, it must be carried out based on the principle of fairness. If you can't, then I can only let the latecomer replace you. Also, don't mention Zhu Ke, don't miss the old feelings. The workplace is the battlefield. Slap. Zhu Ke patted his palms heavily, and immediately the door of the meeting room was pushed open, and a middle-aged man with a short stature and a very smart vision walked in. Hello everyone, my next person is Taro Hashimoto. I was invited by Mr. Wald to assume the position of the new president of the chain stores around SpongeBob SquarePants House. I would like to take care of you in the future. The middle-aged man introduced himself unsmilingly, and immediately bowed to everyone in accordance with the customs of his hometown. Everyone, this is Mr. Hashimoto. This is the first time everyone has met, but I want to say that he is someone I have digged from other companies for a lot of money. Zhu Ke introduced well. Taro Hashimoto was indeed a kid when Zhu Ke first learned that he was a little devil from a headhunting company. He didn't want him anymore, but after meeting and chatting a few times, he had to admit that little devil did have one. Especially when it comes to the sales of small commodities and the retail industry, Taro Hashimoto has amazing talents and foresight, which makes Zhu Ke very excited. Moreover, from the information obtained by the headhunting company, Zhu Ke affirmed one thing, that is, Zhu Ke had read the report of Taro Hashimoto in his previous life. In the future, Taro Hashimoto will be the first vice president of 7-Eleven, the largest convenience store chain in the United States, and a veteran of the achievements of 7-Eleven. Therefore, Zhu Ke doesn't care if he is a kid anymore. Who makes him really benefit him? Besides, letting the kid work for him is not a wonderful thing. It's like in the 21st century, when a man of great celestial descent finds a Japanese wife, isn't he also winning glory for the country? the appointment of personnel ends, and naturally the heads of the various subsidiaries will start to make reports. Ms. Donna, Kevin Fitch and others, on behalf of Up Television Network, Wald Pictures, Waterworld Animation Studio, Jinshu Guang Music and other companies, reported the performance of the second half of the year to Zhu Ke. Overall, the situation is very good. In the second half of the year, various subsidiaries have generated a lot of revenue, and the performance has improved significantly compared with last year. Everyone, Zhu looked at everyone, and said loudly, "From your reports, we can see that everyone has done a good job recently, but we can't slack off because of this. After all, if we don't advance, we will retreat." Everyone nodded. Everyone is a pursued and ambitious person. They are very satisfied with the current situation, but if they pursue a higher level, they will definitely not let it go. At present, the distribution network of Wald Pictures has completed the layout of the entire United States and all major states. This is great, but it is still not enough. Between 1998 and 1999, my requirements for Wald Pictures were very high. Simply, that is to completely improve the layout of the entire North America, take down Canada and Mexico, and form our own film distribution network. Kevin Fitch, do you find it difficult? Yes, I know this is not a simple task. After all, the establishment of a film distribution network across the country cannot be done with money. It has to consider many aspects, such as the policies of the governments of Canada and Mexico, the local protection of the local entertainment industry, and the exclusion of the same industry. Zhu Ke said solemnly, "But, if you don't encounter difficulties, just back down. There are always more solutions than difficulties." Moreover, in the distribution markets of Europe, South America, Australia, Asia and other places, we can cooperate with overseas local film companies. It's okay to give up some benefits. Overseas distribution network, the top priority. Without a comprehensive overseas distribution network, it is tantamount to being caught in the neck of the card holder and cannot be used. At Wald Pictures is currently cooperating with Paramount Pictures on the overseas distribution of films, but this does not mean that Wald Pictures has completely abandoned its independent overseas distribution channels. The morals of big companies, if you really believe it all, then you are really stupid, of course. The work of setting up an overseas distribution network is indeed not easy. In Zhu Ke's previous life, Lionsgate spent more than $1 billion in money alone in order to build an overseas distribution network, and the connections and behind-the-scenes work behind it were countless. In the following time, Zhu Ke gave further instructions to subsidiaries such as Up Television Network and Waterworld Animation Studio www.wuxiaspit.com, as well as their work goals in the next year. At last, option dividends. Yes, it's the option dividend. In the next 1 to 2 years, I will give you the corresponding option dividends based on your performance in 2000. As for permanent option rewards, it is not impossible. As long as your work is good enough, one stone stirs up 1,000 waves. What is a big event? For everyone present, options are what they really want most. For a professional manager, their annual salary, in addition to the fixed annual salary, the most important thing is the option dividend. Moreover, the number of option dividends is often several times the fixed salary. For a while, whether it was CEO Victor, Donna and others, they were very excited. Don't mention any loyalty. Everyone just wants to eat. Which one doesn't want options? If you want a horse to run, you must feed it grass. Zhu is stingy, but he still understands the truth about how to lure him. As the company grows further, granting option rewards to key executives is an inevitable path for major companies. Otherwise, what do you use to retain talent? Of course, according to Zhu Ke's nature, even if they were given option dividends, they would not be given a lot at the beginning if capitalists don't squeeze you. What kind of qualified capitalists are? The next day Zhu did not stop, but began to plan to acquire publishing houses, bookstores, game companies, sports businesses, and so on. Territory expansion, without delay. The first update of is sent, asking for support. Chapter 146, Invest in Gold. After enjoying a rich breakfast on this sunny morning, Zhu planned the development of the company at home. The decision to expand the territory has become a foregone conclusion. However, how to start, how to operate, which company to acquire, etc., all need to be carefully considered. Many things can be successful without money. Jun, don't you see that there are so many prodigals in the world? Good morning, boss. Zhu's personal lawyer, Zhang Wei, came to visit Zhu in person. You sit in the living room downstairs for a while, and I will come over immediately after I have dealt with some things. Zhu Ke yelled from upstairs. The boss spoke. What else can Attorney Zhang say? Of course it is to obey, and before long, Zhu Ke briefly took a shower in the bathroom upstairs, and then went downstairs to meet with lawyer Zhang Wei. Attorney Zhang, good morning, I hope you bring me good news. Zhu Ke sat on the sofa and told the maid to bring himself a cup of coffee. Add another cup of coffee to Zhang Wei. After all, he drank his coffee while waiting. Boss, it is indeed good news. Zhang Wei smiled and said, but boss, it's not me who killed you. You are a wealthy man with a net worth of more than $1 billion. Can you prepare the coffee for your guests next time? Well, this instant coffee from Nestle, really? Not very good, it can only quench thirst. Hearing this, Zhu Ke burst out laughing immediately. At this moment, Zhu Ke, where's the slightest appearance of a billionaire? Hey buddy, it's not that I'm stingy, but that I really don't get used to those so-called brand name coffees. I really don't think those coffee beans that cost hundreds of dollars a gram, what is so good about it? To be honest, I think this instant coffee, refreshing and quenching thirst. After finishing speaking, Zhu Ke took another sip of coffee in his cup. In fact, Zhu Ke did not lie this time for coffee. Zhu Ke really doesn't catch a cold, even if it is tea from the great heaven. Zhu Ke can't tell the truth. Hey, to put it bluntly, Zhu Ke is still a dick. Zhang Wei held his forehead and shook his head. Well, I will not discuss with you about your personal quality of life. This time, coming here is indeed as you said, it is good news. Oh? Is it the money about Gale Capital? Zhang Wei nodded. That's right. How much is it? Zhang Wei continued. The amount you withdrew from Daffin Capital's overseas account this time is $1 billion. Odd Finance and my team of lawyers have gone through multiple designs and moved to multiple states in the United States, and they have officially settled yesterday. After finishing the money and avoiding some risks, a total of $260 million in taxes have been paid. Fuck, at this moment, Zhu Ke was already prepared, but he had to pay $260 million in taxes at once, and he couldn't help but feel a little painful. Damn it. Of the U.S. Federal Internal Revenue Service, they didn't do anything, so they took a lot of money from me. Zhu Ke cursed. Zhang Wei pondered. Boss, reducing the original fixed tax amount of 35% to the current 26% tax amount is the ultimate we have achieved. If it is lowered, you will be brought to court by them. Zhu Ke nodded. Actually, Zhu Ke is not stingy. You can ask those Wall Street financial crocodiles whether they can keep calm and smile every time they transfer overseas funds back to the United States. Go to hell. Anyone will be extremely upset after paying a large amount of tax. It is said, Bereston's senior partner, a famous American financial crocodile, and billionaire Crispin Feng, every year when he settles accounts, he falls into a few glasses. Moreover, his office has to be renovated every year. Why? Because every time he filed a tax return, his office must have been smashed by himself. The anecdote of Crispin Feng's new office is something almost everyone knows on Wall Street. Make money for a while. Deduct tax MMP. $1 billion minus $260 million, and finally $740 million fell into Zhu Ke's hands. Finally, I can do a big job. As soon as the funds were in place, Zhu Ke called Alexander and asked him to inform the executives of California Standard Bank to return to the bank's headquarters for a meeting in the afternoon. California Standard Bank. Everyone, the purpose of the meeting is very simple. That is, I want to inject $400 million in cash into the bank. The $20 million of this money will be used for equipment replacement in various branches of California Standard Bank and the construction of new bank branches in other cities. The other $380 million funds will buy gold for me. Remember, don't buy gold futures. We only need gold and acquire a large amount of physical gold, which can be used as a reserve in our bank and used as a long-term investment. The voice fell, and everyone present was very puzzled. Even some of them felt that Zhu Ke was fooling around. With such a huge cash flow, why not make money? Why invest in physical gold? How much money can I make by investing in gold? An executive muttered. Yes, the boss is still too young. Doesn't he pay attention to the trend of gold prices in recent years? In recent years, the international gold price, whether it is physical gold or futures paper gold, has fallen into something. That's it, another executive echoed. Their voices are very small. But I have to say that Zhu Ke's hearing is very good. I heard these words. Completely stupid guy. Zhu Ke cursed secretly in his heart. Two idiots. Who said that gold doesn't make money? In fact, it is no wonder that the bank executives did not support Zhu Ke's decision. After all, they did not know the future international gold price, in order to usher in a big explosion. Speaking of this, I have to mention the advantage of the foresight of the traverser. Due to the industrial development of various countries in the world, national gold prices do fluctuate frequently from 1933 to 1980. With 47 years of experience, the price of gold rose from $20.67 per ounce to $850 per ounce. It can be said that at this stage, investing in gold is definitely a big profit. Due to the internet, real estate, high-tech www.uxiaspit.com and the development of emerging industries, coupled with the continued weakness of the US dollar, international gold prices have fallen all the way from 1980 to 1999. 19 years of experience, the price of gold dropped from $850 per ounce to $251. Can be described as a big drop. Almost all banks and investment institutions that hold a large amount of physical gold at this stage have suffered serious losses, but people are not as good as heaven. With the internet bubble erupting in the early 21st century, many people and investment institutions who invest in the internet and other high-tech industries have suffered huge losses. The continued weakness and depreciation of the US dollar has caused people and investors from all over the world to start buying gold to preserve its value again. From 1999 to 2011, with a 12-year experience, the price of gold rose from $251 to $1,912. Note, in April 2020, the international price of gold is around $1,690 per ounce. If you don't invest in gold now, when are you waiting to invest? The increase in the price of gold in the next 10 years will certainly make Zhu Ke very greedy. It can not only preserve value, but also make money. Why not do it? Investing in gold, there will be 7.5 times more profit in the future. How can it be ignored? That is the money in my hand. There are other uses. Otherwise I can't say that I can't buy a large amount of gold. Zhu Ke's heart moved. Moreover, the heavy investment bank will bring a lot of convenience to Zhu Ke's next few acquisitions. At the same time, buying other companies in the name of a bank can avoid tax to the greatest extent. The second update of his sent. Chapter 147, Want a Loan, Give Them. To purchase physical gold, Zhu Ke does not intend to invest entirely in a basket. You must know that Zhu Ke still has $440 million in funds in overseas accounts. With the development of the times, countries in Europe, Asia and other places have risen one after another, which will inevitably lead to further weakness of the US dollar, and its continued depreciation is almost irreversible. Therefore, buying gold to preserve its value is a general trend. Swiss bank. Thank you Mr. Wald for choosing our bank. We promise that we will guarantee the safety of Mr. Wald's funds, Andreev solemnly said. Andreev Milvoskid served as the deputy president of the UBS bank headquarters at the same time. He is also a former senior consultant of the Swiss Ministry of Finance, a senior member of the World Financial Commission, an honorary president of Tocqueville University in Switzerland, and a visiting professor of finance majors in many world-renowned schools such as the University of London, Cambridge University, and the University of Munich. He is a global bank bigwig in the world. You're welcome. Zhu Ke smiled and said, I really didn't expect you to serve me personally. After all, my capital is only $440 million, which is far worse than those big capitalists. Andreev smiled mysteriously. Mr. Wald, you are humble. I know your company's general gains from the Asian financial crisis, well, not much worse than those of the established investment banks. Zhu Ke smiled, and did not answer. Fuck. Really is a cunning old fox. Zhu Ke thought about it and realized that others don't know what Defin Capital has gained from the Asian financial crisis, but Andreev, the deputy head of the Swiss bank, has his own information channels. Don't say it is Zhu Ke Scale Capital, it is some inside information about the 5 major investment banks on Wall Street. As long as he wants to, he can know a lot. Gold, Zhu Ke said in a deep voice. Yes, my bank's $440 million deposit will be used to purchase physical gold. Deposit? Of course, it is stored in your bank. After all, your bank's reputation is second to none in the world. Of $440 million to purchase all physical gold, it must be a loss in the short term. After all, the internet bubble has not yet occurred, and the price of international gold is bound to fall within only 2 years. At present, the international gold price tends to be around $310, and has not dropped to the lowest point of $251 per ounce. If it goes down, it will go down. Anyway, it won't go down much. From a long-term perspective, it will still make a lot of money. Physical gold cannot be purchased at the lowest point. After all, you may not be able to buy it if you want to buy it at that time. This will take a long time. Similarly, It will take a long time to complete the purchase of physical gold with the $380 million funds of California Standard Bank. Of course, Zhu Ke is not in a hurry. As long as it is completed within 2 years, it will be okay. If you look at the floating gold price of $251 to $310 per ounce, Zucker's $820 million capital can roughly buy 80 tons of gold. How can such a large amount of gold be purchased without the participation of a Swiss bank? Even if the time span is 2 years, I don't know. After the calculation, Zhu Ke was shocked immediately. Boy, 80 tons of gold. Scared to death? December 6, Wall Street. Defin Capital Investment Corporation boss. After you drew $1.44 billion in funds, there are currently $52 million in funds in the company's account. Henry Jojenberg read the report, feeling a little nervous. He can see that his boss's heart is not on the financial investment field. He is deeply afraid that Zhu Ke will transfer his only $52 million in funds again. Haha, Zhu Ke smiled and patted Henry on the shoulder, and said, "Don't worry, I will not embezzle this money for other purposes. This money will be completely handed over to you, and then South Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia. The foreign exchange markets of various countries are still profitable. Although there are not many, I believe that you will achieve better results." Henry was really relieved when he heard the words as long as Zhu Ke no longer draws funds, he will be relieved after all. Once Zhu Ke withdraws all the funds, Defin Capital will become an empty shell, which is undoubtedly extremely uncomfortable for them who are immersed in capital trading. The Asian foreign exchange market is still profitable? Of course, you must know that in the original time and space history, the Asian financial crisis lasted for more than a full year. After 1998, the 5 major Wall Street investment banks and a group of international speculators will continue to frantically raid the foreign exchange markets of all Asian countries, especially the Indonesian rupiah. It was beaten to pieces. Although the next capital game is almost invisible, Zhu Ke is still optimistic about Henry and other members of the Gale Capital team, looking forward to them using the $52 million of funds. Once again, one high results. December 7, Wald Pictures. Kevin Fitch, as the vice president of Wald Pictures, reported to Zhu Ke on the matter of comic copyright acquisition $200,000 to take the copyright of Iron Man from New Line Films, $350,000 to take the copyright of Ghost Rider from Crystal Sky Pictures, spent another $3.2 million to obtain a series of superhero copyrights such as Black Widow, Namor, Hawkeye, Captain Marvel and Daredemon from major Hollywood film and television companies. Among them, the copyright of Hulk was taken from Universal Pictures, and the price was the highest, costing a full $5.9 million. Boss, the Hulk is a first-line superhero in Marvel Comics, and its popularity is second only to Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Kevin Fitch explains. Zhu Ke nodded and smiled. I understand. And you can get the copyright of the Hulk from Universal Pictures. It's really not easy. After all, they are the top 6 in Hollywood. In the original time and space history, after the Hulk was sold to the world, there was the Hulk shot by Ang Lee in 2003. Although Marvel Pictures has regained the rights to the Hulk in the future, Universal Pictures still holds on to its distribution rights. In other words, as long as the Hulk releases a single-player film, Universal will have the rights to distribute physical films, negotiate with theaters, determine the release date, and even own the film format. Marvel naturally does not want to make wedding clothes for others. This is also the main reason why the Hulk has appeared countless times in the Marvel Universe series, but has never owned a single-player movie. As for Iron Man, you said its copyright price, why is it so low, only $200,000? Because Iron Man is the third-tier hero among Marvel superheroes, even the fourth-tier and fifth-tier heroes. Before the release of the Iron Man movie www.wooksyaspit.com, its popularity is similar to that of Spider-Man and the Hulk. It can't be compared. Moreover, the copyright ownership of Iron Man is also extremely interesting. In 1990, Universal bought the rights to the characters of Iron Man, Hulk and Namor. In 1996, 20th Century Fox bought the copyright of Iron Man from Universal. Until 1997, the copyright of Iron Man was transferred from Fox's hands to New Line Pictures. But it is a pity that these 3 companies once owned the copyright of Iron Man's character, but did not pay much attention to it. In the end, the copyright of Iron Man was taken back by Marvel in 2006, and Iron Man was adapted and shot to help Marvel reach the pinnacle of life. Boss, you said, is it possible for us to take the entire Marvel company? Kevin Fitch said suddenly. At this time, He's a big fan of Marvel Comics actually, Zhu thought too, but Zhu Ke, who is well versed in history, is even more aware of the squalor among Marvel's major shareholders. When the mountains and rivers are not exhausted, those guys can't let go. They even would rather drag Marvel to that and sell the company's equity. What? Suddenly, Zhu Ke thought of the possibility of acquiring Marvel in its entirety. Isn't your Marvel company going bankrupt and reorganizing? It is extremely short of funds. Well, you have no money, but I have money. Zhu can completely lend to Marvel in the name of California Standard Bank. The collateral is of course Marvel's superhero copyright, or even Marvel's shares. As long as you get stuck on your loan, if you can't repay the loan by the deadline, you can reasonably and legally take down the entire Marvel company. Chapter 148, Apple Stock. Superhero copyright. Even though it's sluggish right now, but looking to the future, it's all delicious. In fact, the copyrights of a series of superheroes sold by Marvel have a useful life under normal circumstances. It is 5-8 years. This means that if the film company that has taken the copyright of the superhero within 5 years does not shoot the superhero movie in accordance with the contract, then Marvel can unconditionally take back the copyright of the superhero. The copyrights of superheroes such as Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, and Fantastic Four belong to superhero copyrights with a certain authorized period, but there is a saying, soldiers will come to block, and water will cover the earth. There are always more solutions than difficulties as the age limit of 5 years. If you don't shoot, you can unconditionally withdraw the copyright. Well, when the 5-year period is about to expire, I will spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to shoot crudely. What can you do with Marvel? For example, in the original time and space history, Constantine Film Company, which owns the copyright of Fantastic Four, has done this many times. In short, since you Marvel sold the copyright without paying a certain price, then your copyright is definitely in my hands. Well, even if it is rotten and moldy in the warehouse, not to mention Marvel's superhero copyright, it is related to other types of copyrights. The major Hollywood film companies basically adhere to this operation. Of course, not all superhero copyrights have contract years. For example, the copyrights of the X-Men and Deadpool series bought by 20th Century Fox, the copyrights of Spider-Man bought by Zhu Ke, Venom, Dr. Octopus, etc. are all perpetual copyrights. In other words, as long as I don't sell, you can't help me. Zhu watched Kevin Fitch leave. Boom boom boom. Before long, someone knocked on the door of Zhu's office. The visitor is impressively Zhu's chief assistant Alexander Povich Samily Sergey. Well, this name is really long. In fact, as a Russian-born Alexander, his name is considered normal among Russians. After all, the names of Russians usually include their father's name, mother's name, and even grandmother's name. If it is a married woman, the husband's surname will be added. Boss, Alexander said respectfully. Good afternoon, Alexander. You are here at this time. It seems that you have already done what I told you. Zhu Ke smiled. Yes, boss, Alexander continued. I have roughly checked the information about Apple's shareholders, including several companies and individuals that have a large number of outstanding shares of Apple. Zhu Ke nodded. There is no need to mention the information of Apple's various shareholders. After all, they are listed companies. You will find out after a little investigation. You can talk about those companies and individuals who hold a large number of Apple's outstanding shares. In the following time, Alexander reported to Zhu Ke in detail. At present, Apple's outstanding shares on the market total 38.9%, of which 5% to 12% are concentrated in the hands of investment institutions and enterprises, and the rest are owned by shareholders. Among the 5% to 12% of non-voting shares, there are two more companies occupying the majority. 1. National Environmental Protection Foundation. The National Environmental Protection Foundation is a semi-official organization. As the name suggests, it is mainly engaged in the promotion and maintenance of environmental protection, and investment and financial management is also part of it. It holds 2.7% of Apple's shares. Second, Microsoft Corporation. On August 6, 1997, Microsoft used $150 million to purchase a large number of non-voting shares of Apple, accounting for 3%. Boss, the Apple stock held by the National Environmental Protection Foundation was purchased as early as the early 1990s, when it purchased 4.9%. However, Apple's current situation is not very good. They have successively sold out in the past few years part of the shares, and the remaining 2.7% shares, they also intend to sell off. Alexander is worthy of being a senior elite graduated from a prestigious school. In such a short period of time, he analyzed the pros and cons and saved Zhu Ke a lot of time. Starting from tomorrow, you contact the National Environmental Protection Foundation and say that I am willing to take over this $135 million Apple stock. Zhu Ke said. Alexander nodded. In fact, just as Alexander speculated, the National Environmental Protection Foundation did not hesitate to agree after learning that Zhu Ke was willing to buy the shares. Who makes Apple stock not good at all now? Even now, Jobs returns to Apple and assumes power, but almost a year later, the market share of Apple's products has been further reduced. The kind that cannot be contained. There is no change in the value of its stocks even if it weren't for the current internet industry's general environment, which is sought after by all stockholders. Apple's current half-dead state, it is estimated that the stock has already fallen to a penny stock. Boss, if you give me another week, I have the confidence to lower the price down to $125 million. Alexander said solemnly. Lower prices, with $10 million saved? What reason does Zhu Ke have to oppose? Of course, I promised him. There is no doubt that in a short time, Zhu Ke will be able to acquire 2.7% of Apple's stock, even if it is only a non-voting stock. However, Zhu Ke's acquisition of 3% of the non-voting Apple stock held by Microsoft was rejected, even if Zhu Ke stated, willing to pay 8% higher than the market price for the acquisition. Microsoft still has no heart. Yes, Zhu Ke can directly buy Apple stock from the stock market, but a large number of acquisitions are not so easy, and will lead to further growth of Apple stock. In combination, even if the average price is similar to the market price, it is very troublesome. Therefore, I chose to buy from Microsoft. Why didn't Microsoft sell the shares to me? Zhu Ke sat alone in the company and began to think deeply. Time is passing bit by bit. I have to say that although Zhu Ke is still a layman with a sleek mentality, he has grown a lot over the past 2 years. After thinking about it and analyzing the future with what I know, I roughly got the result. Microsoft bought 3% of Apple's non-voting shares. It was not for profit. In fact, Zhu Ke was right. The reason why Microsoft used $150 million to purchase Apple stock was in exchange for Apple abandoning the lawsuit against Microsoft for copyright infringement, and the built-in IE browser on every Apple computer in the future. Perhaps more meaningful, Microsoft announced at the same time, continue to support its Office series on the Mac version. And soon the Macintosh software department was established. This measure reversed the situation that Microsoft's previous Mac version software was lagging behind the PC version. Reading www.akanchu.com also allowed it to win several awards. Of course, after Microsoft's goal was achieved, it later sold all Apple stocks it held. I have to say, Microsoft is a bitch. Microsoft successfully sold Apple shares before the dot-com bubble, allowing them to make a small profit. Hey, Zhu Ke curled his lips and said, the chicken thieves. Microsoft. It seems that in a short period of time, it is impossible to take this share from Microsoft. I adjusted my mentality. It's okay. As long as you get a large stake before Apple is officially prosperous, it's completely okay. Don't worry now. In the afternoon, Zhu Ke left the company and took 2 future directors, Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan, to the Chinese theater in Hollywood. You know, today is the big day for the premiere of Titanic. The second update is sent. Chapter 149, Titanic released. Hollywood Chinese Theater, Titanic, as a movie invested by 2 Hollywood giants of 20th Century Fox and Paramount, plus a production cost of $200 million and a $100 million announcement, the highest cost film in history, even if several trials were held. The film festival did not cause much enthusiasm, but on the day it held its premiere, it still attracted a large number of media reporters to come and report. Of course, more people come with the mentality of watching the excitement. Man, did you read Zubeo Weekly this morning? Said the female reporter Enticle. Upon hearing this, the photographer beside her said immediately, I didn't read it, but if you are referring to the famous film critic Asim Albert's article criticizing Titanic and director Cameron, I've heard someone say it before, haha. Los Angeles Morning Post female reporter Enticle joked, let me do it then. Asim Albert's comment on Cameron's movie is shit, and it is garbage with no nutritional value. He also said that Cameron should jump off the building. Moreover, he also threatened that Titanic would fail. Of course, if it succeeds, he said he would swim from New York, across the Atlantic, and swim all the way to London. Swim across the Atlantic Ocean? Is he crazy? The photographer was surprised and said, these film critics are really broken mouths, and they spray everything out. The female journalist Enticle also mocked, If I remember correctly, the old guy Sim is almost 60 years old. Once you lose the bet, don't talk about traveling the Atlantic Ocean. It is estimated that it will be less than 0.1 nautical miles, 182 meters. He has to drown in it. The two talked and laughed, acting as the crowd eating melons. The contradiction between the famous film critic Sim Albert and Cameron is not just because of a Titanic. As early as when Cameron directed Terminator 1, the two had a grievance when Terminator 1 was released, in 1984, because the film's producer, West Pacific Films, was short of gold and silver, and did not give enough money to the film critics. The film critic Sim acted as a vanguard. The film was criticized in various media. Of course, as the director, Cameron was inevitably hung up and cursed. However, Cameron is not a good-tempered person either. He is a tyrant on the set, so, as Sim and Cameron sprayed each other in the media in the end, I have to say that Cameron was so powerful that he directly criticized the film critic Sim, and Terminator 1 also directly exploded at the box office. Since then, the film critic Sim, who has lost once, has been chasing Cameron. As long as it's a movie made by Cameron, it's absolutely no matter what the quality is, rush up and scold it first. However, I don't have a bottom in my heart. Cameron really has no bottom in his heart, otherwise, he wouldn't say the movie fails, just wipe his neck with a razor. Remember, when a person is afraid to the end, it is anger. You come out, I will kill you. Get out, I'm fighting with you. This is the state when most people face extreme fear. Similarly, when a person has a guilty conscience and extreme lack of confidence, some people do not shrink back, but bite the bullet and lie, and even worse, become hysterical in the process of defending. For example, when your parents ask about your work situation. Even if your life is not good, you will lie. If your parents ask a few more questions, your tone will become angry and even very impatient. Hung up the phone is like today, when the film critic Sim yelled at Cameron again. Cameron, who is always full of vigor, did not back down. In the morning, he sprayed it in a number of media and newspapers, directing the film critics. The 18th generation of Sim's ancestors scolded him. The eye sockets were red, and the strong posture. The people who didn't understand, thought Cameron was going to kill Sim. Around 4 p.m. less than an hour before the opening of the Titanic premiere, Zhu brought Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan to the venue. Nolan, I heard that your brother Jonathan submitted a script to the company's production department a few days ago. Memories? Are you planning to shoot it next? Walking on the red carpet, Zhu Ke chatted with Nolan, not caring about the media reporters around him. Zhu is the boss. Nolan is a new director who has just entered Hollywood. A group of media reporters, where will they follow them? Instead, it was Zack Snyder. Walking on the red carpet, he was photographed by media reporters before he went far. Even the host of the scene chased him to ask questions. Who made him the director of Human Removal Project, a film that has just become popular in the United States? Nolan, let's go with us, leave Zack alone. Well, don't you see his unsmiling face now? You can't figure out how to cheat in his heart. Listen to me, let's go first. Zhu scolded with a smile. Nolan nodded. Afterwards, Zhu and Nolan, who entered the venue, discussed the topic of memories mentioned by Zhu just now. The movie Memories, of course Zhu knows, in the original Time and Space, it is an adaptation of the novel of his younger brother Jonathan Nolan, and is the famous work of Christopher Nolan after he entered Hollywood. With a production cost of less than $5 million, it successfully won a North American box office of more than $30 million. Even in the Great Heavenly Dynasty, in 2016, there were directors who remade it. Well, it is still the actor played by Lee Jae-in, which shows that the influence of Memories is extraordinary. The big day version is on the street, the kind that has a terrible box office. It didn't take long. Zhu met with Paramount and 20th Century Fox's directors of the film project. As one of the investors, Zhu www.uxiasp.com. Of course, we should have a good chat with him. Not ideal. Hual Amp, the person in charge of Paramount, shook his head and smiled bitterly. Zhu, you know. Although a few trial films will be down, the reputation of Dutch One is very good, but the media and theaters are not very optimistic about it. Even some viewers said that the length of the movie is too long. Can it be long, buddy? 3 hours and 15 minutes. The impatient audience even fell asleep directly in the previous test film meeting venue. John Kyla, the head of 20th Century Fox, also echoed, anyway, let's try our best. Hey, I said Zhu, you won't regret buying the investment share of the ship. Haha, but now it's too late for you to regret. I am afraid that you will regret selling me some investment shares. Zhu pretended to be anxious, and sighed, "Man, I paid tens of millions of dollars," upon hearing the words. Hua Emp and John Kyla immediately looked at Zhu with a "we are not familiar" gaze. "You can't die from me. Our two companies have long regretted investing in the big ship project, but never expected that you, a fool, would run into it by himself." Hi, Leonardo. At this moment, Zhu Ke saw Xiao Li, who was the hero of Titanic, walked into the venue, and immediately walked up to talk. You know, Zhu Ke wants to make Little Plum become one of the spokespersons of SpongeBob SquarePants House. The first update of his sent thank you by an 2018102108431281 inches for their rewards. Chapter 150, signed the endorsement of Xiao Lizzie. Extremely sorry, I can't promise you now, Mr. Wald. You know, I have to discuss this with my agent. Of course, I am very grateful to you for inviting me to serve as the spokesperson for SpongeBob SquarePants House. Leonardo DiCaprio, who is only 23 years old, has to say that his emotional intelligence is very high. Even the refusal of Zhu is so tactful, and it is so difficult to get tempered. Zhu didn't mind. It's okay, you should really have a good chat with your agent about this kind of thing. I'll wait for your call at any time, and of course I'll invite you again. You tactfully refuse. I'm just pretending to be confused, can't you? Rao is a Little Plum with high emotional intelligence. Zhu Ke was also bluffed at this moment. He smiled and said, Mr. Wald, you are really. Anyway, thank you very much for your invitation. Zhu Ke immediately said, thank you, this is a win-win situation. I want your popularity and also pay you money. This is not a very good thing. Don't respond in a hurry. I will have someone contact your agent tomorrow. Okay, that's it, let's talk about movies. You want to refuse directly, there is no door, I'm talking about it, can you open your mouth and refuse? It didn't take long. The premiere of Titanic officially kicked off under the eyes of all the guests during the viewing of the movie. Many people at the premiere had some whispered discussions. Nolan, what do you think of the movie? Zack Snyder approached and asked. Hearing this, Nolan frowned and said, Director Cameron's film skills, I don't need to say much. Whether it's the conversion of the lens or the rendering of the colors, they are extremely beautiful. At the same time, the hero and the heroine of the film abandon the worldly love, which also makes people infinite yearning. Oh, Zack Snyder asked, so you think the movie is wonderful? Yes, I have no doubt about this. Nolan's tone is very firm and unexpected. After all, the vast majority of people in the United States are not optimistic about the ship. Director Zha nodded and said, the movie is very good, but like many people say, it is too long, which is extremely unfriendly to the audience, and few people can sit down. With the development of the times, fast-paced work and fast-paced lifestyle have gradually integrated into everyone's life, especially in the entertainment industry. Many people watch movies for the pursuit of joy, and a movie is 195 minutes long, and the early rhythm is very slow. How can movie audiences who live in a fast-paced life easily accept it? On this point, this is the consensus of many industry insiders. For example, Heaven's Gate, produced in 1980, is a movie created by Oscar winner Michael Misenno, but how does it end? The 3-hour full film The Gate of Heaven directly led to the bankruptcy of Lionsgate Pictures, which has a history of nearly 100 years and was founded by the king of comedy Chaplin. Otherwise, why do you think that after entering the 21st century, Hollywood movies are dominated by superhero movies? Because it is a fast-paced movie that can be watched without a brain. The audience watches the movie to relax and to spend time, not to watch the so-called artistic pursuits of the directors, Nolan said in a deep voice. Zha nodded immediately. In fact, both of them are directors of commercial films. But they are also one of the few directors who can add humanity and philosophical thinking to commercial films. Zack Snyder's 300 Spartans, Superman, Man of Steel, Watchmen, etc., Christopher Nolan's Batman Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar and so on. The two of them recognize Cameron's skill very much, because they are also rare commercial film directors with both commercial and artistic directors. At the same time, other audiences in the theater are also discussing the movie. The picture is beautiful. Yes, especially when Dawson and Ruth are standing on the bow of the ship, the beautiful sunset, the slowly flowing waves, shouting I am the king of the world. Both are beautiful. I don't deny what you said, but it is too long. I just fell asleep. Joel, me too. Finally, after the audience's discussion, the movie has entered a climax. The big ship hits an iceberg and is about to sink. Yo, jump, I jump, never give up. Remember, Ruth. I will always love you. Winning a ticket and getting on this ship is the best thing in my life. It allows me to meet you. I don't even have a picture of him, he just lives in my endless memory. I have to say that the end of the ship completely attracted the attention of everyone present, even the most critical film critics. I am Dawson, Rose Dawson, I am Dawson, Ruth Dawson, take my name by your surname. This is the end of the Titanic movie, and it is the main theme. The whole film is also carried out around it. The world's largest giant ship sank, but human virtues, human sentiments, and humanity's kindness did not sink. It radiated an extremely dazzling light in this century's catastrophe. This is the spiritual civilization pursued by mankind. In today's high-tech modern society, the value of this civilization is even more precious because it is even more lacking. Therefore, audiences of different skin colors, different races, and different countries side together under the screen of the movie Titanic, remembering together, and yearning for that era, that civilized dream, those great men, great women, those the glorious human nature that the sea will never be submerged and will never sink. Song and tear love, from another level. We have never had this kind of love, so we yearn for obsession. Is Titanic wonderful? Very wonderful. However, as many people expected, because of its too long plot, it seriously dragged down its box office. On December 19, 1997, the day of the premiere of Titanic, it won the North American box office of $28.63 million on the premiere day. The box office on this premiere day looks good. However, you have to know that it was announced by the two Hollywood giants, Paramount and Fox, that it achieved as much as 40% of the film on the day of its premiere in North America. At the same time, its publicity cost is unprecedentedly as high as $100 million, which is higher than Jurassic Park, the production cost of $200 million and the announcement cost of $100 million. www.wooksiaspet.com only obtained $28.63 million in box office data, which directly gave the two giants Paramount and Fox into the circle. Damn it, the movie is terrible. Yes, if the movie fails to get more than $600 million in the box office, it will incur losses. Guy, wake up. 40% of the film on the premiere day. It only got $28.63 million in box office. How much can you expect it to have a global box office? It can have $300 million. Thank God. Suddenly, both the film companies and the major media sang down the prospects of Dutch Wan without exception. Wald Pictures CEO Victor's face is ugly. Boss, the tens of millions of dollars we invested in the ship project is probably going to be lost. Kevin Fitch also smiled bitterly. I just came over from the theater, and the attendance rate of Titanic today is also very low. It is estimated that today's box office will be lower than the day of the premiere. Hearing this, Zhu Ke was happy. Have you lost money? Ding ding ding. At this moment, Zhu Ke received a call. Was called by Zhu's chief assistant Alexander. He said, "Boss, Mr. DiCaprio's agent and himself have agreed to our offer and are willing to become the image spokesperson for SpongeBob House. Well, you can contact the company's finance department and legal department, so that they must settle the contract within these 3 days, you know," Zhu Ke ordered. Why did Lizzie accept the invitation and become the image spokesperson of SpongeBob House? Don't talk about friendship. He just saw that Dutch Wan was weak. Otherwise, how could he sign this endorsement contract? The second update of his sent. Please support. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.